My mother 52F cheated and left me 27M and our family to work in the adult industry and now wants to come back and be my mom again. My dad 67M used to travel a lot to work and stay weeks away, so he and my mother had an agreement where they had an open marriage. Don't know the details, but she was the only one that slept with other people. This happened to most of my childhood, as I can remember her leaving at night to go to clubs and parties, sometimes taking days to come back and neglecting me and my brother. I learned how to get groceries and cook when I was 8 so me and my brother would not starve. When I was around 13, my parents started fighting since apparently she had broken the deal in some way. My dad found out about the neglect, and she started going into the adult industry. They separated and for years I had no contact with my mother. I sent her texts and emails, some that even popped up as she had seen it, but she never replied, so one day I just gave up trying to contact her. I managed to stay in contact with some people from her side of the family, but a lot of them began hating on us, saying that we were too harsh on her, that we never supported her, that she did well leaving us, and gradually I also cut contact with them as well. She started working in the adult industry and got pretty famous in my country, got a lot of money, and I stopped using any NSFW websites as she was on the top pages of all of them. I gladly suffered zero to no bullying in high school because of it, as there were no ways of connecting her to me, and most of my friends that knew my mother didn't know it was her. She had dyed her hair, done a few surgeries and stuff. Well, I moved on with my life, joined the army, and I'm pretty well now. However, a year ago, out of nowhere she found me on social media and began to message me, asking how I was, commenting on how much I had grown up and trying to do some small talk. I just replied with one words and even stopped replying once my nerve got the best of me. Apparently, she has retired, and after feeling an overwhelming remorse throughout her entire life decided to contact us again. My brother was also careful but essentially accepted her back, was always close to her. My father is cordial with her, but only that. She has also asked her entire part of the family for help, as I began being bombarded with messages and calls, from both those that criticized and supported me and my dad. I made it clear that I do not want anything with her, but they just keep on it, saying that she is remorseful, that she did a mistake but wants to make it right, that she has come back for us, etc. More recently she somehow found out where I live, and I've been receiving random gifts at my doorstep with messages that were clearly hers, things like a basket of chocolate that I liked when I was little, expensive clothes, she got my size wrong on all of them, lol, flowers when my cat passed away, and even a very expensive hiking kit. I messaged her a few times to say that I don't want any of that, but she just pretends she doesn't know what I'm talking about, or just says she thought of me at that moment. I made it clear time and time again that I don't want anything to do with her, but she still persists, saying that she can be my mom again now and stuff like that. I don't know what else to say, so advices are more than welcome. TLDR, mother cheated and decided to abandon the family to work in the adult industry. Now she is trying to approach me again with gifts and messages, but I don't want any relationship with her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You are under no obligation to allow her back into your life. Block her again, and her family, and dump all of the gifts she gives you. Stop entertaining her attention. If she still will not stop, I'd honestly recommend going the legal route. Get a cease and desist letter sent out to her and her family, and if that doesn't stop it, go to the police to get her harassment on file so it'll be easier to file a police report/restraining order in the future. Reply. I have donated or sent back all of the gifts already. Unfortunately, cease and desist letters are not a thing in my country, but I'm really thinking about filing a police report for harassment, just don't know if they will accept since she never did it personally. Commenter 2. It sounds like she's regretting what she's done and wants it back the way it was. But you shouldn't let this happen. Will just happen over and over again. Reply. She has indeed voiced that she regrets what she has done, and I don't think it would happen again, but she should know things would not get back the way it was, and honestly, if she thought it would, she is even crazier because things were really bad before. Update 1. First, I would like to thank everyone that commented, giving me some comfort, advice, or letting me unwind on their DMS. You all helped me a lot. I'm still trying to answer all of the comments and messages, but with work and family craziness reaching new heights, that might take some time, but know that your words are very appreciated and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Well, to start the update, I decided to have the moral high ground and take a more polite approach. I know many of you wanted me to just send her to hell on a message or letter, but I thought this way would disarm much of her comebacks and maybe even make some of her family members shut up. I called her and asked her to meet me in a small cafe. No way, I was meeting her in private. She got there and it looked like she had won the lottery. She had a smile from ear to ear and was almost jumping up and down, but her smile did fade when she saw my face. She sat down and tried to do some small talk, but I cut her off and began to rain on her parade. With all of the calm and patience I could gather, I told her that no matter what she does or says, there would be no way for her to be my mom again. I started to explain that she was a complete stranger to me now, that I still had resentments, reminded her that I tried many times to stay in contact with her but she refused, and even stated that I'm no longer a child, I'm almost 30 so I kind of don't need a mom anymore. Had to hold myself not to say something like a few years too late huh. I didn't even finish speaking when she burst into tears and began rambling about how sorry she was, that she was sorry for not seeing me grow up, sorry for ignoring me, that she would do anything for a second chance. She even told me that if her old work bothers me she could have it all taken down and pay for therapy if I wanted. Apparently she didn't know I'm in therapy ever since I was a teenager. I politely refused, and since the conversation wasn't likely to progress I just left after asking her once more to not contact me again. A couple of hours later I was in the shower when my phone began exploding with calls and messages. She apparently once again told her family and once again they were cursing or trying to convince me. That showed me that some of the more radical comments on my last post were somewhat right, and I decided to follow some of their advice. I swapped my phone number, also got a much better phone plan, cleaned my social media of any family members from her side, and told my lawyer to go forward with the restraining order. Thanks to the last post I had it ready to go. Thanks again everyone. She received the order a couple of days ago and immediately broke it by driving straight to my house to scream why I was doing that. I didn't come out and called the cops. Thankfully they saw the restraining order and took her to the station for questioning. I was afraid they would ignore it or something, but I'm glad I was wrong. I'm now stuck here, not sure with what I did was 100% right, but at least I'm having some semblance of peace this last few days. She's still trying to send gifts but I'm going legal on that too. I'm honestly not sure if there will be any more updates after this, but if it happens 3 post on my profile due to this subreddit rules. But once again thanks everyone. TLDR, I decided to be polite and meet my mother face to face and tell her that was no way for her to be my mother again. She said she understood but continued pushing, so I went the legal route and served her a restraining order. Update 2. So I wasn't planning on posting any more updates, but a lot of people have been messaging me and apparently, my post made into YouTube and it blew up, and because of it even more people are PM, so I guess 3 just write a quick one. My mother is now legally fighting me on the restraining order. I didn't even know that was a thing, and I'm trying to get more restraining orders for the more crazy members of her family. My lawyer told me to be cautious because if I request 20 orders for all of her family, 3 look like a madman and it will all be denied. She hasn't broken the restraining order again after the last time, but the gifts continue to come and even intensified, so I'm just donating all of them. Although my childhood was pretty bad, I can say that the amount of chocolate she sent me is making a lot of kids really happy now, lol. And 3 say it again, I'm not revealing her name. Go find porn elsewhere and stop messaging me. It's not even for her sake but because I don't want to get doxxed. Anyone that sends any message like that will be blocked. To end this, I don't know if 3 post any more updates or how long they will be, but if something happens 3 definitely tell you guys. Once again thanks to everyone that helped them. Update 3. Hey there folks, yeah, it has been a few years, life has been a complete roller coaster, but with some people still sending DMs I figure I should at least try to make some updates. Now bear in mind it has been years so my memory might be spotty and all over the place. Will try my best to make it chronological, but it might turn into a mess. Right where I left off, well, my mom had been pushy to the limit, but at least with the restraining order she was keeping away. There were some incidents like when she showed up at my dad's house during a family dinner only for my dad's new girlfriend at the time, now wife, to open the door. She also showed up at my job asking for me army, and one of my friends who was on guard duty scared her off with a shotgun. Love those guys and they are pretty much the only thing I miss about the army. Well, life was not going that well, kept being passed for promotions, my requests for officer school were always denied, and to top it all off my girlfriend at the time cheated and dumped me, so yeah, not nice. Years went by and when I finally thought I would get an upstart in my promotion I got dismissed by the army along with a lot of other folks. Suddenly with no job I had to go back to living with my dad for some time while I tried to figure out what to do with my life. The restraining order against my mom also expired, so she came back with renewed vigor, which did not help the situation at all. There's a lot more, so I should tackle it some other time. For now, have a nice weekend folks. Stories number 2. Aita for making my dad face the consequences of cheating on my mom with his wife by telling her and his family. My parents got divorced when I 17 was 5. It was all kinds of awful because my dad acted like my mom was the worst person he knew, and he kept that energy even after he remarried and had other kids, and he and my mom hardly ever spoke. Most of the stuff he said either wasn't true and he contradicted himself on all the lies, or it was like WTF. Like how she went back to work after having me instead of being a som, and how awful that was. Or how she had the nerve to plan date nights when he was busy. Almost 3 years after my parents divorced, my dad remarried to his wife Anya and they had 3 kids together. I hated the way Dad talked about Mom. I hated that Anya was always quick to tell me I shouldn't be so quick to defend Mom. But they were good to me in a way. Not the best and not the worst either kind of deal. Then a few months ago my dad got drunk at his wife's birthday party and he told me he and Anya had dated way longer than anyone realized and that he was cheating on my mom for 2 years and got away with it because nobody found out. He admitted he left mom for Anya and that he hated mom for almost finding out about Anya by planning date nights and other stuff when he just wanted to be with Anya. He even admitted they laughed behind mom's back and how proud he was in never getting caught. I was pissed and when dad sobered up I confronted him and Anya and they told me I couldn't tell anyone and dad was freaking out because he hadn't meant to tell me. But I didn't listen and I told my mom. Because after all those years of him talking shit about her I figured she deserved to know the truth. She was hurt and I hated doing that to her but she told me she was glad she finally knew and she would stop trying to stay civil for my sake after all that. She said she wouldn't be outright hostile and I told her she could be as hostile as she liked. I said I hated him for what he did after all those years of talking about her like she was trash. She admitted she wished she could have gotten enough proof for a custody judge to take seriously when I was younger. But I didn't just tell mom. I told dad's whole family about it. I figured they should know that they were supporting a cheater because they told me to stay out of what he said about mom. That he was faithful and that mattered more. When I told them it took a while for them to believe it but then they did. And they told dad he was disgusting and immoral and how God would never forgive him. They also stopped having anything to do with him and with the kids. They no longer consider them legitimate grandkids. That was when my dad became super pissed off at me and he said I was evil and spiteful to destroy everyone's life like that. I asked him what would he call himself after talking shit about my mom for 12 years when he was the one who did her dirty. He said he never ruined the lives of innocent kids who were getting grown people problems taken out on them. I said he actually did when he badmouthed my mom to me and put me in a bad place with that. Anya said that it was so small compared to what their kids would go through because it was clear I was done with all of them as family and that meant the kids would lose so much more. I went no contact with them at that point although I can't block him until I turn 18 because it says so in the custody order. And since I block her they use dad's phone all the time to shame me for making dad face the consequences of what he did. They blame me for their kids being collateral damage in it all. Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. He's the embodiment of FAFO. He's just mad because he got away with it for so long and now can't hide behind his lies anymore. Reply, literally. He was so smug about it too. I can imagine him walking around feeling so smug all the time and not just when he was drunk that time. Commenter 2, NTA, but I would sow some seeds of doubt. I would suggest to Anya, that your dad is so good at cheating, he brags about getting away with it for years, so how can she be sure, he hasn't done the dirty on her? And then I would suggest his drunk rant wasn't all about cheating, just on mom. Reply, my dad's side already planted those seeds. They went at it from a bit more of a religious angle but I think it still bothered Anya. Commenter 3, you did nothing wrong. Very proud of you for defending/setting things straight and staying by your mom's side for all these years. They have no right to be angry and yet they are and you should not worry about their feelings. No one spared you. Reply, I had to. It was crazy to me that dad was admitting to lies by contradicting himself and then blasting mom for the weirdest and the meanest shit. All the while he felt so smug that he got away with cheating on her for 2 years. Commenter 4, NTA. I could make a good argument that, on a subconscious level, he wanted you to know. Hence, the supposed slip. Reply, I think it's possible. Like in his head I'm pretty sure he thought subconsciously that I would support him after he badmouthed mom for so long. He really never understood how much that was awful for me. Stories number 3, Aita for telling my wife she makes traveling no fun. So my wife 38F and I 36M have been together 8 years. We live in my home state of Arkansas, she is from San Diego. Every year she wants to visit home, we used to fly but since we have a kid 2F she now wants to drive. I have no problem using all my vacation days for this, she lives here. Traveling is a pain because she overpacks. Used to fill my CX-7 full, but work gave me a $900 car allowance and we used that to get a full-size Suburban. This time she loaded that full. I mean front passenger to the ceiling so I can't see the mirrors full. We didn't use hardly any of it. Every stop I carried everything into the hotel because she was afraid it would get stolen. It's 3 days each way, got through it, told her she makes traveling miserable because she is also super late. Tell her 10 a.m. She might arrive by noon. So every day we don't leave the hotel until 12, then she insists we drive until midnight, ugh, unfun. Anyway. This weekend I was sent on a work conference. They got me a sweet hotel room, week at a nice resort, super excited. We were going to go and leave the baby. Day before she cancels my mom watching to bring our child. Fills the Suburban full, again. Mind you, it's my work trip. 5 days, 5 nights, most of the stuff was just overpacking. She brought a tote of blankets. 1 of towels. 2 of her clothes. Totes. I told her she makes it miserable. The hotel always gets cluttered and full, the night before we leave is always a mess trying to pack and her organizing stuff she brought that never gets used. She freaked out, told me I just want to go hook up and cheat at these things I invited here, and she is filing for a divorce because I told her you're overpacking and insisting we fill every vehicle full and always being late makes me miserable. We were 3 hours late leaving to get to the conference, so I missed the networking opening night, which is where in my industry people tend to click up afterwards to a degree. I missed going to the best vendor events, etc., because she insisted that I don't leave because she was overwhelmed with how messy the hotel room was. Mind you, it was all the stuff she brought, took out of totes, and never used, and the toddler then destroyed. Edits. Yes, I am involved in raising our child. I actually packed for our trip. I had 1 bag for baby to go to mom's toys, diapers, food, etc. A big bag but 1 large suitcase. I had a bag packed for wife and 1 for me. Yes, she had ADHD. She always says she doesn't want to do this, then trip comes and she does it. I am not a cheater. She accused me of it last time I went solo. I am exhausted. If she left me I think I would be done with relationships. My own mental health is wrecked. My boss wasn't mad, he found the whole thing hilarious when I told him. He skipped half of the conference himself. My job wasn't threatened, but to me it was. I tried the whole packing thing for her and me. I have tried to just accept her issues, but it's gotten worse. When we first got together it was she needed a large checked bag for a 2-day trip to Las Vegas. Now she needs an entire Suburban for a week trip. One of issues is the vehicle is so full. If it was just the back, I might be able to deal. But it's so full I can't even see the side mirror. I've expressed how unsafe that is and she doesn't care, just yells that I don't understand. Yes, she comes from a hoarder background. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA personally, I think your wife is crazy pants for wanting to drive the 20 hours both ways between San Diego and Arkansas with a 2-year-old instead of flying. I've made that trip twice without kids and it was torture. I feel like she's making it harder for y'all to travel, not easier. The bottom line is that she went with you on a work trip, made you late, accused you of wanting to cheat and threatened to divorce you. None of those things are okay. OP. Commenter 2. I love long drives and making that trip alone or with my girlfriend or a trusty dog sounds like a perfect vacation for me. Doing it with a 2-year-old? Please just kill me now. Commenter 3. Does she always threaten divorce so causally? Next time tell her, sure, I'll call the lawyer tomorrow and start that up, and see her face drop at calling her stupid bluff. She sounds really annoying to travel with. Commenter 4. Is she also a hoarder? Because, Commenter 5. She's definitely got some kind of anxiety issue going on, lots of warning signs in OP's post. She needs some mental health assistance for sure. Commenter 6. This. Insisting on going with the baby, overpacking, then not letting him leave the room, basically, to a work function, and then threatening divorce over the situation is, not right. Commenter 7. The fact that she is impacting your job and career would be it for me. Not only did you miss events, but I can only imagine what your peers thought when you rolled in late or were seen taking the kitchen sink from your Suburban to the hotel room. I also would never drive a car where I can't see out the back window and the side windows. I literally would not back out of the driveway. NTA, but you need to grow a spine and deal with this. If I were your boss, I would be extremely unhappy with you showing up late to a conference that I'm paying you to attend. ETA, the more I reread OP's post, the more concerned I am for his child and him. He can't safely drive because all of the crap in the car inhibits his ability to see the mirrors. All of that crap could seriously harm the poor child in case of an accident. His wife wants to drive till midnight. What about the baby being able to have a semi-normal bedtime routine while on the road? Dinner, bath time, snuggle time, and bedtime. And what's the deal with driving 3 days each way to San Diego rather than flying? It is statistically much safer to fly rather than drive this distance. But OP's wife is messing with his career. I can only imagine the gossip and jokes going around the hotel and convention as he's seen hauling a bunch of crap into and out of the hotel room. And he missed very important events because of her. I mean, she couldn't handle how messy the hotel room was because of all of her crap. WTF. This is where I think the OP might be YTA. He's on a work trip. His company pays for their Suburban. The company paid for the hotel room. I wonder if he gets a meal allowance that his wife will use. He is being paid to be there to work. And he let his wife sabotage that. He chose to not go to the vendor events because of her. He chose to be 3 hours late to the conference because of her. What his boss has learned is that he cannot be relied upon. What his boss has learned is that a new rule might need to be put in place that only the employee may occupy the company paid for hotel room so that situations are less likely to occur in the future. If I were OP's boss, I would be livid. It would impact his future employment and growth in the company. We would be having a meeting as soon as we were back in the office. Update. About a month ago I told my wife she makes traveling no fun. We got home, I wanted to talk, she said we were fine. I called a counselor and got us more couples therapy, and set her up with one who specializes in trauma that causes hoarding. She did not call a lawyer. She threatened again, so I dialed one on her phone and put it on speaker and walked away. Not my best moment. However, since then we have attended 4 sessions together and she has went 5x apart. I spent all my savings to hire some people to come in and help her clean for a week. We threw away 2 40 yards dumpsters fairly full of stuff. Cleaned, put her car, the one she puts my daughter in daily, out, and established a routine of only her purse and diaper bag go up front, the rest is trunk only. I've had to go through it daily and remove stuff. I once let it go 4 days and it was full again. We are going to see her family in December. I made it very clear if the vehicle is loaded full, I am going to the airport and flying with our daughter and she can make the trip herself. We made the packing lists already. The boot of the Suburban can be full but nothing above the boot cover and nothing besides a small cooler and purse and diaper bag up front. I bought refundable tickets for my daughter and I to fly to and from San Diego if she fills the vehicle and throws a fit. Now how is our quality of life? She seems happy. Her family says she is happier than ever. She has always wanted a clean house and car but fights me when I clean up, even now, as she was about to do it. I am miserable. I am constantly picking up the car, the yard, the house. I let it go 2 days once and got screamed at for sabotaging her. I talked to a lawyer myself. Not to move forward but to protect myself. My boss actually has me in line for a promotion. Which is great, only problem is if our marriage ends and she moves back to California, then I would be stuck in a 2-year deal at work. So I am currently very nervous about career advancement when I am miserable personally. Edit, forgot to add the cheating part. She confessed she was nervous I would cheat because I am not the ugliest guy around and you work hard, so if you hate me then you would have options. I have no idea if she is cheating, and I am kind of at a point when I don't care. I am 100% checked out. Edit 2, so many responses. Why haven't I cut the cord? Because she is my wife and we said for better or worse. How can I walk away from her when she is not doing okay without giving it the good old college try? Plus I was raised divorce is not an option. I gave myself until Christmas 2026, if it's not better then, I am pulling the plug. I am picking up every day because counseling said it would help, and also as people rightfully pointed out last time, my daughter doesn't deserve this. I want a clean home, so I do it myself. Is it defeating to come home every day and the kitchen table is covered with random stuff she got out because she was going to bake but never did, and the bed is covered with totes of clothes she was going to sort? Sure. Do I want to go through the guest room every 3 days because she destroys it, not figuratively but gets stuff out in it or brings things into it, and I want it to be guest ready at all times? No, I don't, but it's the price I pay. If I don't do it, our house is shit, and our kid doesn't deserve it. If I leave, I am hurting someone with mental illness. All I am doing right now is destroying someone myself. And when I finally walk away, I can honestly say I did my best. Yes, I am documenting her car and the house when I get home and when I leave. I am probably enabling right now, but if it goes the way it probably will, I am going to be fighting to keep my daughter. Part of this going above and beyond is so that I can be the better parent, because people before were right, I wasn't protecting my kid. As for her claiming I am sabotaging, I must have worded it wrong. When I clean up she is mad because she was going to do it in a minute even though it's been days. Those wondering about work, I am full-time. She works full-time now as a teacher, started back a few days ago. I had hoped she would stay home full-time to raise our daughter, as that's why I took this job. Don't love it, don't enjoy it at IT, but it pays the bills and provides a good QOL, but it's what she says she needs. And for the people messaging me about using the word boot, I am from Arkansas but there is this thing called a plane, and I have worked all over and have even enjoyed a TV show or two that wasn't Walker Texas Ranger. I also call carts at the stores trolleys, partly to mess with people and partly because it entertains me, and mainly because it's become a habit. Comments. Commenter 1. This doesn't sound like she's doing any work to help improve things but you have somehow been convinced to do more which is not sustainable. Have either of you addressed her verbally abusing you in therapy? Commenter 2. Document everything and I mean it even if you aren't sure start documenting, out cameras up, get recordings, photos, time-stamp things 100% will not be safe with a baby alone plus cannot leave to California without judge or anyone once filed protect yourself. Commenter 3. This is the answer. As miserable as it is, Opie should take that promotion with the 2-year contract and spend that 2-year period documenting everything on every level. Wait a few days before cleaning to have evidence of how bad she lets it get. Definitely use cameras. Then, after 2 years of advancing at work and gathering evidence, divorce and go for full custody. It's sad, but hoarders almost never get better, and it's not sustainable for him to clean up her mess together. Even the 2 years is going to be hard as shit. Commenter 4. Run. This woman will destroy your life and leave it in ruins. You deserve to be happy. Commenter 5. Take the promotion. She can't just move and take your kid with her if you don't want her to. And if you are really miserable and your wife still doesn't do anything to keep everything clean then maybe it's time to call the lawyer again. Stories number 4. My mom said my wedding was just okay at my twins' wedding, and she still doesn't know she's no longer welcome in our home. I 27F got married in October 2024 to my now husband 28M, a military reservist. We had a small mountain wedding after surviving a long deployment, and it was everything we hoped for. Leading up to it, my mom 61F emotionally blew up on us, crying, saying we didn't include her, and even told my husband he ruined our relationship. She apologized to me, but never to him like she promised. Still, we let her come. She even brought her sister not invited and I didn't have the energy to say no. Fast forward to my twin sister's destination wedding this spring I was the maid of honor. My mom was drinking, and at the rehearsal dinner, she told my sister in front of my husband, their wedding was okay, but this is beautiful. He didn't tell me until later that night because he didn't want to ruin the day. That comment crushed him. When we got home, we made the hard decision, she's no longer welcome to stay in our home. That was in April. It's now July. She has no idea. Since then, we've only had vague phone calls, and now she's saying she wants to come visit, to change up her scenery. She can't drive anymore, so if she visits, she'd be fully dependent on us to get around and would definitely expect to stay with us. I'm frozen. I don't know how to say, you can come to dinner, but you're not staying here. I feel like I've been protecting everyone else's feelings for years while mine get ignored. I love her, but I'm drained. Has anyone ever had to say something like this to a parent? How do you set this kind of boundary without feeling like a terrible daughter? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Her comment may have been while drunk, but drunk people will tell the truth. Which is sadly how she feels about you and your wedding and marriage. Stop avoiding it and finally tell her that he heard her comment and he doesn't want to host her in his home, which is supposed to be his safety place. She would intrude that space and expect catering from people that she was mean to. Because you didn't tell her yet, you are not supporting his feelings, because you are too scared to hurt hers. You are growing old with your husband not her. Reply, I believe this is so true. My husband and I have gone back and forth talking about this topic and he has been so supportive along the way giving me time to think about what I want to say and even offered to tell her for me or be there on speaker phone when I talk with her. I am so grateful for his support and he always apologizes for putting me in a hard place but he is trying to protect both him and I peace especially in our safe space. Commenter 2, you realize we're upset with you, right? You shit-talked my wedding to people at * twins wedding, and that really sucked. You've not only disrespected me but you've disrespected my husband, and honestly, I don't want to see you for a while, so until I'm ready, the answer is going to be no. I'd go no contact, but it doesn't sound like you're gonna go for that. Nta. Commenter 3, this is a great response. But going no contact. IDK. Shoot for healing and moving forward with changed behavior. But I'm a person whose mother is in heaven so, cutting out completely is just sad to me without trying. Commenter 4, this mother sounds toxic though, and she appears to display narcissistic tendencies so I'm sure OP has tried to talk to her in the past about things she's done and it's directly led to why OP can't talk to her now. Reply, yep 100% it's a lot of different problems over years of trying to change his things and many chances being given and nothing changing. Commenter 5, Hey OP, you only briefly mention it, and I don't know if it actually is a problem, but it sounds like maybe your mom needs to think about her relationship with alcohol. That can make this easier and harder to deal with. Sometimes, especially if they are not actually addicts, it makes it easier to blame the poor behavior on drinking. For example, I have an aunt who enjoyed being a heavy drinker through most of her life, but when she reached around 45 to 50, she became quite a nasty person when she was drinking. Just plain mean, and sharing some very unnecessary, pointed opinions that her sober self would have been quite embarrassed about and never allowed to escape her lips. Eventually, when she was about your mom's age, her son told her bluntly, "Mom, I love you, but you are a bitch when you drink and you need to stop it." This wasn't a term he used often, and certainly never about her specifically prior to this moment, so it landed like a nuclear bomb as intended. He listed out specific behaviors and words that came from her mouth that she knew had happened, and her cheeks were hot and red, and she was very angry and upset. And then she eventually realized that she could continue being embarrassed and ashamed and upsetting her family and being the talk of the gossip chain after every event, or she could stop drinking like an asshole. And thankfully, she chose the latter. She still had a drink now and then, but she slowed down considerably both in quantity and type. Straight Crown Royale on ice became wine spritzers and never drank to the point anymore where she wasn't able to watch her mouth and filter her strident opinions because she wasn't getting anywhere near as trashed due to the drastic reduction in alcohol volume. Maybe your mother also needs a "let's come to Jesus and discuss your wine" moment. Reply: I've tried for decades trying to get her to stop. Nothing changes. Everyone in my family has. OOP on why her mother is not able to drive anymore at her age. Reply: no, she medically lost partial vision, so doctor said she is not able to anymore. She had a stroke late last year and it affected her vision, so she is not able to drive because of it as her peripheral vision is gone. Update: my mom said my wedding was just okay at my twins' wedding, and she still doesn't know she's no longer welcome in our home. My husband 28M and I 27F started dating in 2021, engaged in December 2023, married October 2024. My relationship with my mom 61F has been complicated for years due to her alcoholism, volatility, and lack of accountability. She was minimally supportive during our wedding planning and made choices that hurt me. At my twin sister's destination wedding this year, my mom made multiple passive-aggressive comments, including telling my sister that her wedding was so much better than mine. My husband heard it, I didn't. After the trip, my husband and I agreed she would no longer be welcome to stay in our home. Since April, we've had very limited contact. The recent conversation, I finally called my mom to talk about it. She immediately denied saying anything hurtful and essentially called my husband a liar. We went back and forth, and she eventually agreed to call and apologize to him directly. She asked for his work schedule, I gave it to her, and she said she'd call. Then, instead of following through, she texted saying she wanted a three-way call instead, reframing the situation as a misunderstanding or relay of communication. I told her clearly this wasn't about miscommunication, it was about words that were said and how they made us feel. What we needed first was ownership and an apology. Her reply was that she's been accused of speaking without thinking, and now wants to talk with her sister, my aunt, before speaking with us again. She said she'll let us know when she's ready. The unexpected twist. The day after my mom said she wanted to talk with my aunt before speaking to us again, my aunt texted me out of the blue, "Call me when you have a minute to talk. No one knows I am reaching out to you, so please don't mention it." I called her, and we had an incredibly validating conversation. She's been through almost the exact same dynamic with their mom and with my mom, constant comparisons, disapproval of her spouse, judgment about her life choices. She told me my mom has never taken genuine accountability or given a real apology, and likely never will. She encouraged me to stop chasing approval, keep my focus on my marriage, and keep any interactions with my mom surface level and drama-free. Later in the call, I told her that my mom had said she wanted to speak with her before reaching out to us again. The very next morning, my aunt texted me, "Your mom talked to me when we were having coffee this morning. I will call you later today to let you know what we discussed." I didn't tell her that you and I talked yesterday, nor did I start the conversation, she did. When she called later, she gave my husband the lowdown on what we discussed the day before and shared what my mom had said. At one point, my mom apparently asked my aunt if she should apologize to us, and my aunt told her no, because she believed it wouldn't be genuine anyway. Where things stand now. Despite my aunt's advice, my mom still texted both my husband and me in a group chat asking when my husband had time this week to talk, after putting us off with excuses multiple times. At that point, my husband 28M was fully done. He doesn't want to keep going in circles, and I don't blame him. For me, it's sad to accept that my mom may never be the type to take real accountability or give a genuine apology. I know it's going to take me some time to heal and move forward, but I also know that low contact at least for now is best for my mental health and for my marriage. I'll be focusing on my life with my husband, keeping boundaries in place, and leaning on my aunt and of course my husband for support when I need it. If anything changes, I'll update again. Thanks to everyone who encouraged me through this. It's been hard, but I finally feel like I'm putting us first. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm a little confused at the boundary. Why would you be happy to spend time with someone who says something like that and instead just not want the person inside your home? She has no idea because you haven't demonstrated any consequences for her behavior and you've probably caused yourself a problem because now when it does come up, she'll complain about why it took you so long to say something. You need to be stronger on boundaries and you need to communicate them to her. Reply, yes, I understand that. I grew up in a family dynamic that we never talked about our feelings or problems and just pushed everything to the side. So with that I'm trying to be better and voice my feelings is why it took me so long because it is not easy for me at all. Commenter 2, hugs. One thing I have learned both through therapy and Reddit groups is that chasing my mom for a change just stressed me out. The minute I learned to say, she was the best mother she could be versus she is a good mother to me or that I needed, did my thinking change. You need to work in that she loves you, but she doesn't know what you need and quite possibly can't give it to you. She will not change, but you don't need to change either. Your expectations need to change. Commenter 3, sometimes letting go of the rope is the only solution. Don't chase love from someone who has no love to give. Do what you need to keep your peace, not your mother's. Your husband is your family now. No need to have a confrontation. No yelling, no arguing, just let everything fade away. Realize the one losing is your mother. You have so much more in common with your aunt than mom. Surround yourself with people that love you and don't see you as less. Life is better without the stress. Commenter 4, I understand your aunt's reasoning in her head as to why she told your mom not to apologize, but I worry your aunt telling your mom not to apologize may be taken wrong. I see your mom using that as validating she did nothing wrong and doesn't owe you an apology. Stories number 5. Aita for telling people that I wasn't invited to a wedding. I've been working for my company for 7 years now, 5 of which have been spent on my current team. There are 15 people on it and I'd say we're all pretty close, relatively speaking. I have a coworker named Bob, 33M, who joined the team when I did. During the pandemic he announced to everyone on a Zoom meeting that he was now engaged. Fast forward to this January and Bob says that his wedding would be held in September of this year at a really beautiful winery. About 5 months ago the invite started coming in for everyone on the team, but mine didn't. I waited a few weeks but nothing came, so I went to Bob and asked if my invite got sent out. He gave me a solemn look and then told me that I wasn't invited because of a spacing issue. He said he tried to make it work, but just couldn't, and hoped I didn't take it personally. He also said I'd be sure to get wedding favors and a piece of cake. He also asked me to keep it to myself and please not make a big deal out of it. I honestly didn't know what to say, so I guess I just said okay and walked away. I won't lie, I was upset. I hate feeling excluded, and it was doubly worse because everyone else on the team was going except for me. And honestly, I really like weddings, they're usually very fun. I kept it to myself, but I wasn't happy. The day of the wedding came 3 weeks ago. And it went by without a hitch. Everyone on my team had a grand time and said it was beautiful. The food and party was great as well and apparently everyone got a dozen fresh apple cider donuts to take home. I never did get that cake or wedding favors BTW. At work the following Monday my team member, Sherry, told me that everyone was confused as to where I was. Apparently Bob said I was sick and couldn't make it. I was confused and then pissed. I straight up told her I wasn't invited, and left it at that. She looked shocked, and asked me to confirm and I said yes I wasn't invited. Well Sherry told someone, because about 5 people asked me if I wasn't invited and I said it was true. Today was Bob's first day back from his honeymoon and it must have gotten back to him that I spilled the beans. He approached me in the break room and he was upset that I told Sherry and that it wasn't a big deal I missed the wedding. I said how would you like to be excluded from something everyone else is going to? We went back and forth for a bit, before Bob walked away. I was pretty upset, so upset that my project manager came to ask me if I was okay because she heard about me not being invited. I didn't want this to go this far, so I said yes. But other team members came up to me and said that Bob should have invited me, and it was wrong he didn't. Look, I realize that it was his wedding day and he's allowed to invite who he wants, but I'm allowed to be upset that I wasn't invited, right? So Reddit, Aita for telling people I wasn't invited to the wedding and being upset about it. Edit, sorry I forgot to put in the OP that I'm a 30, male. Edit 2, wow guys, thank you for all the support, my inbox is begging for mercy. Update, Aita for telling people that I wasn't invited to a wedding. I want to thank you all for the responses, especially for the wedding invites. Well, I have an update to this story and it took an interesting turn. Bob and I were in the office today. He came to me and asked if we could talk. He asked if we could clear the air over some beers with his wife after work. I said okay. After work I meet Bob and his wife Pam in a bar. They both apologized for not inviting me, and making me feel excluded. Bob apologized for lying and getting mad about it. The reason they didn't invite me is because they didn't want single guys at the wedding. They went to a big wedding back in 2019 that was ruined when a bunch of drunk, single guys started hitting on the women there. A few of the boyfriends and husbands got pissed and it turned into a big fight. People were arrested and it completely ruined the wedding. I found it hard to believe, but they showed me a couple of Facebook videos of them at a wedding, and it looked the damn Royal Rumble going on. I was even shown a few Facebook statuses confirming their story. Pam said she was sort of traumatized by this and swore they'd have no single guys at their wedding. Well, the wedding came and Pam stuck to her guns. Only family, couples, single women or trusted single men were to be invited. Pam said that there were only about 10 single guys there, and they were all family members or groomsmen. She said the party turned out amazing this way since women didn't have to worry about being hit on. Pam said it truly wasn't personal, and that she's so sorry for not inviting me, but would do it again. I asked if she and Bob didn't trust me enough to control myself. She said that Bob vouched hard for me, but she was sticking to her guns. The compromise was that she'd have to explain it if anyone asked, and that Bob got to choose the honeymoon destination. Curiously, she said that she had a sister around my age and I was just her type and she wanted to keep her away from me. I was a little offended at that, but she says that it's for my own good. Her sister is a little bit of slur words not mine and she didn't want her to get her hooks in me again, her words. Bob said he should have handled it better, and he wanted to be honest but it wouldn't have made much of a difference so he hoped I wouldn't mind as much. Plus he figured I wouldn't want to go to a wedding as a single guy anyway. I told them I was kinda hurt, they thought I would act like a creeper at their wedding. Pam assured me that she thought I was a nice, smart, funny guy but she just wanted to make sure their wedding went off without a hitch. They promised to make it up to me, but I told them it wasn't necessary. Pam insisted on it, and said I had to know how sorry she was. So we made plans to have dinner at their expense at a very nice restaurant in the city this weekend. So in the end I guess it wasn't anything I did, but I still feel kind of insulted. But I guess I get a free dinner out of it. Edit, there are a lot of comments here suggesting that I'm being naive, a doormat and letting them off easy for basically calling me a creep. I won't lie, I think you all might be right. I do believe in taking the high road on most occasions, but I don't think this should be one of those times. As a side note, I don't believe that wanting to see the best in people or taking them at their word makes you naive. I had a call an hour ago with my project manager and explained the entire situation. She advised me to go to HR and make a complaint since it could lead to a hostile work environment. I have a meeting with them Monday. I don't really want to make a formal complaint, just have it on file in case anything happens. TBH, I don't think it will. Bob doesn't seem like that kind of person, but I've been wrong plenty of times before. So as per the advice here, I won't be going to dinner with Bob and Pam. I will however insist on a public apology that doesn't imply that I'm a creep. And I'm insisting on some fresh apple cider donuts, not store-bought, but fresh. Thank you for making me see the truth, Reddit. Although I'm disappointed I'm turning down some way steak, so you all owe me one haha. Final update, I can't post any further updates on this sub, so I'll post updates on my profile. Update and more context. Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. I'm only allowed one update on AITA, and I can provide more detail with a self-post. Unfortunately, there's an update to this story. Honestly, this whole thing is stupid as hell and I really just want to move on and forget this whole thing happened. But reality is often disappointing. But first, to clarify a few things, I got a few posts and DMs asking why I felt entitled to be invited. I want to make it clear. I don't feel entitled to anything. Yes, I wanted to be invited, but as I said, if they had been honest with me from the beginning I wouldn't have minded as much. They were allowed to do what they wanted on their wedding day. My problem was the subterfuge used to mask their choice. I'm usually not this indecisive, but this is a weird situation and I don't exactly know how to handle it. I have never talked to Bob about women, ever. We didn't have that kind of relationship, none of the men on the team do. I think the women do it among themselves, but I can't be sure about it. I'm choosing to believe Pam about her experience dealing with men. If recent years have shown us anything, is that we need to believe women when they say they've been harassed or assaulted. The trusted men were made up of family members and groomsmen who were explicitly told not to flirt with the women. Pam had to turn away some of her single guy friends, and Bob had a shit ton of guy friends who wanted to go but were turned away. Bob and Pam's after party was going for a club vibe. Pam and some of her friends had very bad experiences being hit on at clubs and Pam wanted to ensure their safety. She got the idea to exclude guys from going to women-only clubs. According to her, the vibe was so much better when women could get drunk and shake their asses and not be taken harassed by thirsty guys. The women at the wedding appreciated the lack of guys on the dance floor, but some complained about the lack of guys at the wedding. The wedding Royal Rumble happened at the wedding of one of her closest friends. The friend and her husband were devastated their wedding was ruined. It was so bad that they committed to having a 5-year vow renewal. Also, they were stuck with a large cleanup bill from the venue for damages. As for me, it was 70/30ths on me being invited. It came down to that Pam didn't know me at all outside of my superb Super Mario Maker level design. Bob really fought hard for me, but Pam was too unsure, and then she remembered her sister. According to Pam, although she loves her sister to death, her sister is a huge SL*T and goes from guy to guy with the change of the wind. Apparently I'm dangerously her type and she would have been all over me. I asked what was wrong with that. She said her sister doesn't deserve a sweet guy like me and she didn't want her to get her hooks in me. This sealed my fate. Bob said it would look horrible if I wasn't invited. That's when she came up with the compromise of taking the heat for it. He was just hoping that I wouldn't mind not going. Maybe I'm naive, but I'm choosing to believe Bob about feeling horrible about not inviting me. He seemed really broken up about it, either he's a damn good actor or he's telling the truth. He acknowledged that the way he handled it was terrible. According to him there was no way of doing this that wasn't awkward. As for why he lied. Apparently he panicked and couldn't think of anything better. Him getting mad at me for not going along with it wasn't necessarily about me, but being mad at Pam for putting him in that situation. He promised to make a full apology in front of the team when we're all together in the office again in a few weeks. Pam did say that she felt terrible about me and the other guys she had to exclude, but she would do it again to ensure the safety of the women around her. She was extremely insistent on making it up to me. She said that we should be friends going forward and offered a nice home-cooked meal to me followed by some wine and a round of Mario Kart. I turned that down. That's when the expensive restaurant solution was offered. I accepted because it seemed like a fair compromise at the time. They didn't even have to really apologize for it, but they were offering me dinner so I took it. In hindsight I shouldn't have, but at that point I just wanted to get out of there and go home. Now for the update. After reading the comments calling me a doormat, I decided not to accept their dinner offer. I called Bob on his work phone to explain my change of heart. He was disappointed, but understood my reasoning. I parroted some of the talking points and he said he understood. He wouldn't make a big deal out of it, and we could just move on. I thanked him for being cool about it, and he hung up. I thought that would be the end of it, but not 5 minutes later Bob calls me back. I groan and pick up. Surprisingly, it was Pam on the other side. She didn't come at me hostile, but she did sound upset. She wanted to know why I didn't want to come anymore. I explained what I told to Bob about how they basically insisted I was a creep. I told her I didn't want to invalidate her experiences, but I didn't have to accept being told I'm a potential sexual predator. She said that she didn't mean it like that, and that she thinks I'm a good person, but couldn't risk it for her wedding. She was practically begging me to meet her in person to clear the air further. She kept on saying that we could be the best of friends if I'd give her a chance to explain better. I said no thanks, and that I had to go, but I'm sorry that she went through what she went through. I ended the call by saying, BTW, I didn't even get those donuts. I then hung up. It's been quiet since then, but Bob is back in the office on Monday and I fear Pam might do something drastic. I hope this thing is over, but I fear it might not be. In any case I'll update if anything happens. Update 3. Bob's Drunken Confession Update. Hey everyone. So, as I mentioned in my last update, I reached out to Bob and explained that I wouldn't be taking him and Pam up on their weekend dinner offer. He was disappointed but agreed with me. Pam called me back a few minutes later and fought hard to keep the plans. I declined and left it at that, hoping that would be the end of it. It wasn't. And now, this silly drama continues. I went in 2 hours early on Monday so that I could potentially avoid a Bob after-work chat. Surprisingly, Bob came in an hour early, lining him up to potentially leave with me. Bob looked exhausted. And I don't mean tired, I mean mentally. I've seen Bob tired, we've worked many late nights on projects together. I've seen him hangover, this wasn't any of that. I almost can't describe it, he looked worn down. He shot me a sup nod, and I gave him one back, and we got to work. I kept my meeting with HR. Our HR rep is a wonderful lady named Sally. I told Sally the whole story, and she said that in her 15 years of HR work, she's never heard a more stupid story. We shared a good laugh, and she told me that it would be unofficially logged just in case Bob or Pam did anything crazy. She told me she thinks Bob is harmless, but to keep my eyes sharp. The rest of the day was uneventful. The most interesting thing that happened was that I saw Bob's face buried in his hands for a good minute or so. With 2 hours to go, I go to the break room for some water. Bob follows me in and approaches cautiously. I gave him a surprised look, and he just threw up his hands as if to say he was not hostile. He said he knows I'm the last person I want to talk to right now, but he needs to talk to me. I said fine, but I angled us over to where the security camera was. Paraphrasing here, but he said, look, I won't ever speak to you again if you don't want me to, but let me buy you around and explain all of the things Pam didn't tell you when we met the other day. Bob sounded desperate, something I'd never seen from him before. He then hit me with the money quote, look man, I could really use a friend right now, and I've always considered you a friend. Well, sorry to disappoint everyone here, but I'm a big gullible softy. I agreed to talk with him, but I told him that there would be absolutely no more meetings on this situation after this. He agreed and said he'd meet me after work. After work, we walked to our usual bar, the same one I met him and Pam the first time. I suspected Pam might be there, but she wasn't. Nevertheless, I kept my eye open for her. Once we sat down, Bob apologized yet again. This one seemed even more genuine than the first. I told him he didn't need to keep apologizing, I got it the first time. He said that he had to apologize because there's a lot more to the story about the wedding than I thought. Bob explained that he fought Pam like hell to get her to give up the single men's exclusion, but she was dead set on it. They argued for months, and a lot of people offered different solutions. Bob suggested a smaller wedding with only immediate family and friends, but Pam shot that down. She always dreamt of a big wedding with lots of people there, and a small wedding didn't fit her dream. Her parents said, why not hire a security guard? Pam said that she wanted the possibility eliminated completely. She said that a few single men could stand to not be invited to a party for once in their lives. Bob said he had a lot of friends who wanted to come and that they would be hurt if they weren't invited. Pam said she was making sacrifices too, a lot of her guy friends wanted to come. Bob finally relented and said if the exclusion were to happen, he wanted nothing to do with that decision and wanted it known that it was out of his hands. Pam said she'd take the heat for it if it came to that, but didn't think people would go crazy over it. She also gave Bob the choice of their honeymoon destination since he was making a big sacrifice. They went to the French Riviera if anyone is curious. Bob said the wedding, reception, and party were amazing. He said that so many women there were drunk off their assess and falling over themselves. Apparently, they did feel safe, but a drunk vocal minority was complaining about the lack of hot guys to dance with. Bob even laughed because one of them was going around calling it a lesbian wedding since there were only women there. Oh, and some women were absolutely hitting on the handful of single guys there, but Pam didn't mind that as much. Bob said he wasn't rubbing it in, just setting up a point. After the honeymoon, they came home to what Bob described as a PR firestorm. Apparently, Pam had lied to her guy friends about why they weren't invited. One of her close friends let slip the real reason they weren't invited. They were effing furious. She was flooded with angry calls and messages from her friends about Pam essentially calling them potential sexual predators. Pam explained her position multiple times to her friends, but it fell on deaf ears. She has lost many friends over this. One of the guys said, if you think that I'm a rapist then why the fuck are we even friends? Pam has been crying for days, and her work life has become terrible, she might even need to leave her job. By this point, Bob had a few hard drinks and was tipsy, so he let loose a little more. He said that her decision had cost him friends of his own. So many of his guy friends were furious to learn they were excluded, and for the reason why. On the day of the wedding, about 6 or so of his closest friends who were excluded decided to go on a fishing trip as a "screw you" to Bob and Pam. The cherry on top of the petty cake. They decide to donate $500 and some items to a local woman's shelter. Bob was devastated, and none of those guys are returning his calls or messages. Even their families are upset with them over the exclusion. Pam's parents are publicly supportive, but chastise her behind the scenes. She doesn't have anyone but her bridesmaids and about 3 other friends who believe in her cause. Bob said at one point that Pam was hysterical and screaming, "Why can't anyone just understand my point of view?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but there was more to this crazy story. At this point, we were about an hour in and Bob was nice and tipsy. So, I pried for more information. Bob said that at first, Pam was sticking to her guns that the exclusion was a good idea, but she was starting to waver a little bit. She said that most people understood where she was coming from, but that it was too heavy-handed, and even a little sexist. Bob and Pam have had multiple blow-ups over this whole situation, and they're not in a good place right now. He said that instead of feeling giddy about his new wife and basking in the glow of being married, he's harboring a ton of resentment towards her because she's cost him a lot of his friends and ruined their lives over a stupid party. As for me, apparently, Pam really likes me. One of her biggest regrets about this entire situation is not getting to know me better before the wedding. He said that Pam thinks I'm one of the coolest people she's ever met. I asked Bob how she made that determination from a 15-minute chat, and he laughed and said, "I don't know, man, she probably has a crush on you or something." I laughed, but that made the situation a little bit weird. As for Pam's sister, she is a SLT, but not in the way you may think. Bob explained that Pam's sister, Beth, is by all accounts a very smart, successful, respectful woman. She just so happens to like sex. Bob explained that Beth is really into the kink scene and is into things like ethical non-monogamy. She frequently mentions her adventures to Bob and Pam, and it got them into the lifestyle as well. I was a little surprised, and I asked for clarification, and he said, "Yeah, she kind of got us into some of that stuff." I was shocked. I mean, how often do you hear that your coworker is into BDSM? But hey, no kink shaming from me. So, it turns out that Beth isn't some soul-sucking, home-wrecking, out-of-control succubus, she's just a regular woman who loves sex. Bob said that Pam was scared that we would hit it off. We share many of the same interests and have similar personality types according to Bob. Pam wasn't lying about that, nor that I was exactly her type. She likes tall guys, and from what I've heard, she'd have been all over me if she found out I was single. Well, now I was curious, so I asked Bob if he had a picture. He pulled up her Instagram, and I must say she was damn gorgeous. She looked like Pam's twin, only she was a little bit thicker. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty pissed at Pam all over again, lol. Bob said that Pam has always been a little jealous of Beth. I don't know why, Pam is a stunner herself, and looks just like Beth. Bob said that as a foo to Pam, he'd give her my Insta so we can DM each other, and he'd put in a good word for me. I thanked him profusely, lol. He said that Pam was so desperate to make amends with me because I made a big impression on her, and she thinks that we'd be really good friends if we hung out. Bob said that she was just grasping at straws at this point. She's lost all of her friends, and she wanted to make another one. He said that he'd rein Pam in so that she wouldn't bother me anymore. By this point, Bob is more than tipsy. He says that he's having doubts about this marriage because the wedding process and aftermath have been a nightmare. He thinks it'd be really shallow to divorce her over this, but his life has been ruined by her choices. I was shocked, and he said, "Don't tell Pam, please." I swore that I wouldn't tell her anything. Bob paid for our drinks, and he was gonna take public transportation home, but I told him he needs an Uber. He fought me on that, but I insisted and he agreed to take one. I put him in the Uber and sent him on his way. An hour later, Pam texted me from his work phone. She told me, "Thank you for taking care of my hubby, you're a good person." I didn't respond. And that brings us to now. I hope that this is mostly the end of it, but it seems like Pam might be desperate and do something rash. In any case, I'll keep you fine folks updated. New update, a date with Beth. Bob was true to his word and gave Beth my Instagram. She messaged me last week and we got to talking. The conversation went so well that we agreed on a coffee date this past weekend. Well, sorry to disappoint the naysayers here, but the date went extremely well. We talked about a lot, our hobbies, interests, futures, jobs, and families. Bob was right, we are remarkably similar, even down to some of our specific food tastes. The date went so well that we met at a bar next to her office for some after-work drinks. And yes, that date went amazing as well. Now here's the part one think you're all going to like. We're going to do a hike this coming weekend, and along the way, we're going to make a stop at the winery where Bob and Pam had their wedding and pick me up some goddamn apple cider donuts. I think if all goes well with this date, I'm going to ask her to be my girlfriend, she just feels special. So that's it. I'll let you know how that hike date goes, but honestly, I think this situation is mostly settled now. Bob has been keeping his distance, but hooked me up, and Pam hasn't been in contact with me for a week now. After the hike, it'll probably be my last post. I don't intend on milking this thing for unnecessary drama. Update, the final chapter. Hey all, as I mentioned last time, me and Beth had met and had gone on a few dates. She's truly an amazing woman. She's smart, funny, driven and very nice. I'm absolutely smitten with this girl lol. Well, we had a hike this past Saturday and it was beyond amazing. The weather was perfect, the foliage was beautiful, and the view from the top of the mountain was amazing. We had a picnic at the top of the mountain, and during a lull in the conversation, I summoned all of my courage and asked her if she'd like to be my girlfriend. I was waiting for a more opportune time, but I guess I just got swept up in the moment in view. She smiled, laughed and said I was the corniest person alive for asking in such a cliché place, but she said that she loved corny and cliché. She said yes, and we sealed it with a kiss. On our way back, we finally stopped by the winery where Bob and Pam had their wedding and man it really was beautiful. It had panoramic views of the mountains, and the vineyard was very pretty. But I wasn't here for the view, I was here for some goddamn apple cider donuts. Funny enough, we got there kinda late and almost missed the fresh donuts for the day. Thankfully we got some of the last batches. God, those donuts were absolutely delicious. We got 2 dozen each and even got some apple-filling cider donuts. The wait was worth it. Afterward we went back to her apartment and made dinner together. I've never had such an amazing date with a woman. It was just perfect. I didn't want to leave, but I couldn't be presumptuous. When I picked up my keys to go, she grabbed them from me and said, and I quote, "If you seriously think you're leaving, then you're out of your fucking mind." I must have had the biggest smile on my face. So we spent the rest of the weekend together. We had a wonderful Sunday brunch, and a nice walk around our city holding hands going into stores and sightseeing. Unfortunately for me, we had to part last night because we had work in the morning. I was damn near in tears lol. This is going to sound dramatic as hell, but I've spent the last few hours at work being totally miserable that I'm not with Beth. It's like when you're in high school and you get your first boyfriend/girlfriend and you can't stand to be apart from each other. But you don't want sappy love stories, you're here for the drama. Well, me and Beth made it Instagram official on Sunday, and apparently Pam saw it on her sister's profile. She texted Beth on Sunday night, "How do you know OP?" She said, "Bob introduced us." Pam only replied with, "I knew this would happen." We figured that might mean trouble down the road, but we don't care, Pam can be as mad as she wants. This morning, I actually went up to Bob and thanked him for introducing me to Beth. He explained that he and Pam had a huge fight over him introducing us. He said he didn't care about it though, it was worth it just to get us together and was a big foo to Pam. I told him I'd buy him around as a thank you, but he said don't worry about it, and that it was the least he could do. So that's it for this update. I'd like to hope that this is the end, but Pam seems pretty upset with us being together. Either way, I'm just so happy with Beth, she's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of person. And rest assured I'll update if anything further happens. Peace and love. Stories number 6. My 28F BF 30M secretly invited his parents to move into our house without telling me. So I've been with BF for 4 years, living together for almost 2. We bought a house together last year. We had a lot of talks beforehand about boundaries, financial planning, and how important it was for both of us to feel like this was our space. Last week, BF casually mentioned that his parents might stay with us for a while. I assumed he meant a week or 2, maybe up to a month. Fine. They live out of state and I know they've been struggling financially, so I didn't think too much of it. Well, I found out yesterday from MIL, not even from BF, that the plan isn't just a visit. BF apparently told them they could move in with us indefinitely. As in they've already sold their place and are arriving next weekend with a moving truck. I was stunned. I confronted BF immediately, and he acted like it wasn't a big deal. He said, "They're my parents, of course they have a place here." When I told him that a permanent arrangement was never discussed and that I didn't consent to it, he got defensive. He said I was being cold and ungrateful, and accused me of hating his family. Point 1. For context, I don't hate his parents. MIL and FIL are fine in small doses, but they're very traditional and openly critical of me for not being wife material. We're not married, and I have no plans to quit my career. MIL has made comments about how she'd love to help raise the kids. We don't want children right now. FIL is the kind of guy who thinks women belong in the kitchen. So the idea of them living with us full-time is challenging. I feel completely betrayed. BF made a massive, life-altering decision without my input, one that directly impacts our home. He keeps brushing it off like I'm overreacting. I don't even know how to come back from this. How should we deal with this? TLDR, BF promised his parents they could move into our house without telling me. I feel betrayed and completely overwhelmed. Comments. Commenter 1. It's a real shame you aren't married, it would make the legalities for selling the house cleaner. There is nothing to fix here. OP, this is not a betrayal that you can fix. You don't need to fix him or try and get over this. You should not. Get a lawyer. The parents aren't in your house yet. Great. Get a lawyer before they move in. Your relationship should be over. This man does not respect and care about you. I'm sorry to be blunt, but there is no way to deal with this. There is only you and whether or not you're going to lay down like a doormat and pay for their house. Commenter 2. Call the lawyers. Force the sale of the house. Break up and move out. I'm sorry your boyfriend is a worm. Reply. I contacted a lawyer yesterday. I'm looking into my options for a buyout or, if needed, a forced sale. Commenter 3. This is posted in relationship advice, so my advice is you don't have a relationship. This is a crazy life-altering decision that your BF can't respect you enough to include in said decision. Even more insulting, you're now being brushed off as too dramatic. If this was me, I wouldn't be wasting time on Reddit, I'd be speaking to my lawyer. BF needs to buy you out or pain mommy and daddy can. This is not a situation where you're going to win. This will be the rest of your life. He'll make decisions without consulting you and it'll only get worse. Protect your investment in the house and use it to break free into your own place. Wish you all the best. Just want to add, I'm usually a talk it out and see if things can be worked on type of person. This guy doesn't seem like he'll have a conversation. He sees nothing wrong with what he's done and there's no arguing with stupid. Reply. You're right. I've tried talking calmly, but he just doubles down and refuses to see my side. I've already started speaking with a lawyer about different options. Commenter 4. I can't believe he won't even have a conversation with you. Did he really expect his parents to show up and move in and you would just accept it? Is he insane? Reply. I know, right? When I asked him how he thought I'd be okay with it, he said he didn't think he had to ask since he would do the same for my parents. My parents are doing well, financially and health. Even if it were necessary, I would still ask my partner as it changes the entire home situation. Stories number 7. ATIA for forcing my husband to choose between me and his mother. I 31F and my fiancé 36M are set to get married in July this year. We met through a mutual friend earlier last year and our relationship progressed quickly. He's literally the perfect guy, but the problem is his mother, Katie fake name. Katie has been critical of me from day one. She often tells my husband that he could do better and I am just an uneducated slum. I could usually disregard her, but when he proposed she went to a whole new level. The main incident occurred when we went to visit her a few days ago to announce our engagement. My future husband excitedly showed her the ring, but she just grimaced. She looked at him and, I repeat, said, "Are you really going to marry that R-word gold digger?" My husband laughed nervously and we left quickly after. A little context, I have high-functioning autism. It doesn't affect me too much on a daily basis, but I have trouble interpreting emotion. After we got home I sobbed and asked my husband to tell his mom this needs to stop. He didn't say much, just that he loves me and he will get better, but he can't say anything to his mom. When I pushed for answers he said he can't do anything about it and left. His sister sent me a text later telling me I can't make him choose between me and his mother. I'm so confused because I literally didn't even ask him to do that. Is there something I'm missing? Top comments. Commenter 1. As someone else who has diagnosed you're very clearly missing a nonverbal cue from you fiancé, and it probably means that he doesn't care about his mom acting like that to you. Commenter 2. NTA. You aren't making him choose. His mommy is. Commenter 3, run. Don't entertain the idea of marrying this asshat, he doesn't deserve you. If my mom ever said anything of the sort to my spouse, she'd never see me or hear from me again. Major red flags. He isn't appalled and confronting it on sight. I'm just saying, girl, you don't want to deal with that the rest of your life. And you don't want to deal with that during a divorce. Asking to be treated with respect by your future husband's family is honestly bare minimum and goes without saying. He and his family don't seem to have the capacity to do that, and that's embarrassing for them. You deserve so much better than that. Please do not waste your time thinking it will change or get better. It won't. They are showing you who they are, believe them. You will be better off. Update. My fiancé came home the next morning 2 days ago and started acting like everything was normal. He didn't even mention the fight we had. Finally, that night I sat him down and asked him why he was acting normally. He responded that, it was a minor fight, and we shouldn't dwell on it. This made me mad because it was a big deal for me, and that fight made me question our relationship. I told him this and he scoffed. In that moment I looked at him, and asked him, is it really not a big deal that your mother called me an R-word gold digger? He just scoffed again and said something about her getting older and not knowing what that meant. I was done at that point. His mother is 63 years old and acts the same way she did when I met her years ago. I packed a bag, called my friend to pick me up and left. I've been staying at her place since then. Not sure where my life is headed now. Top comments. Commenter 1, your life is headed to freedom and happiness. Your boyfriend can remain tied to mommy forever. Maybe she can even learn to do that thing he really likes. Commenter 2, he knows it wasn't a minor fight. He just knows you're in the right about it, and didn't want to address it. Commenter 3, seems to me your life is moving in a better direction away from your mama's boy who clearly doesn't respect you and will never stand up for you. Commenter 4, good for you for standing up for yourself. I'm proud of you. It feels dark and difficult right now, and it's okay to grieve the loss of the relationship and the person he seemed to be. But eventually you'll find yourself feeling much lighter without that weight dragging you down. I don't mean him, I mean the way his mom and then he made you feel, and you'll find your happiness again. Fiancé's post, ATIA for choosing my mom over my fiancé. Hey Reddit, yesterday my friend sent me a post on this subreddit that was made by my fiancé. She totally makes me look like a villain, so I just have to say my side. We've been dating for a while now and it's been great aside from the past few days. My mother 63F is a single mother that raised me and my sister alone. She has always been the most supportive mother ever and I love her to the end of the world. She is getting on in her years now, and is not the same person she was. She has always been a little overprotective of me, and so she has never fully accepted my fiancé. I didn't think it was that big of a deal since she doesn't say anything directly to my fiancé. Then last weekend when we were announcing our engagement at her house, my mom wasn't too thrilled and I admit made a rude remark regarding my fiancé's autism. We left quickly after and I comforted my fiancé for over an hour. I ordered her takeout, made a bath for her and put on a movie. I explained to her that my mom is getting older and doesn't have full control of what she says. My fiancé kept pushing and I eventually snapped and told her I can't do anything about it. I'm not sure my fiancé understands because she doesn't have a close bond with her mom. I stayed at my mom's house, went back in the morning. Long argument short, my fiancé started blowing the comments my mother made way out of proportion, not even bothering to mention her age. Like I said, my mom is old now, she doesn't understand this fully. She left and I haven't seen her since. Her friend contacted me and said I'm the AH for choosing my mom over her. I'm not choosing my mom over her though, and we are still getting married, so ATA. Top comments. Commenter 1, your mom called your autistic fiancé a retarded gold digger. How is that not a big deal? There is no good fucking excuse for your mom to call her that, and I'm not buying the whole age excuse because my mom is 5 years younger than yours and she's very much alert and aware of what is and isn't okay to say to other people. Unless your mom has early onset dementia, she knows exactly what the fuck she's doing. You're a fucking mommy's boy who can't stand up for your fiancé's dignity. That's fucking pathetic. Shame on you. Commenter 2, age is not an excuse to be a shitty person. After 63 years, your mother doesn't have the self-control to keep rude comments to herself. You absolutely could have done something. You chose to not defend your fiancé because you're too busy hanging on mom's teat. YTA and your fiancé dodged a fucking nuke. Commenter 3, Perhaps you should have remained quiet and let us think you are an ass instead of posting and removing all doubt. Commenter 4, the whole point of getting married is to create a new immediate family. That means your wife and future kids are your number one priority and cousins, uncles, and parents are distant second or third priorities. I speak from experience where my aging mother is also a filter-less racist who spoke down on my Filipino wife. Guess what I did? Chewed out my mom and gave her one opportunity to make it right. My mom can't control her tongue, so I've since gone no contact. It's been 9 years since I last spoke to her, and my wife and I just celebrated our 11th anniversary. YTA and will always be the until you put your wife first, always. Now go beg for forgiveness Fiancé, chew your mom out and tell her she's got one chance to apologize or she loses her son. Otherwise, you don't deserve your fiancé. Final update, Aita for making my fiancé choose between me and his mother. So anyways, after he posts this he calls me and like an idiot I pick up. And let me tell you, this man did not sound stable. First he was crying begging for me back, and then he was screaming at me to get the F back here. It was heartbreaking to hear the man I thought I was going to marry sound so pisco. I recorded the call just in case I needed evidence, and then I hung up and blocked him everywhere. About an hour later he shows up to my friend's house acting crazy and saying some things I can't repeat here. I called the police, and after they took him away, I left to stay at a hotel. My friend has been really supportive, but I can't put her in danger. I hope this is the final update, but if anything else happens, is there a different sub I can post in? I feel like I'm deviating from Aita. Sorry if this isn't edited properly, I just can't with life today. Again, thanks for all the support. It truly means more to me than I can ever say. Top comments. Commenter 1, kinda sounds like you dodged the crazy bullet. Commenter 2, just read your ex-fiancé's post. What a spineless mama's boy. Good for you for finally seeing you deserve so much better than settling for him and his mommy. Commenter 3, can his mommy put him in timeout? Commenter 4, oh no, the consequences of my actions, him. Update, after we broke up and my ex found out I was dating again, he sent tons of passive-aggressive gifts to me. He posted about one here, saying it was my favorite book. No. Loving your spouse when you feel like walking away was not on my to-read list, actually. Anyways, here's what happened. About a month ago, I found out my ex has a new girlfriend. I was honestly relieved. I kinda thought maybe he'd finally leave me alone. Yeah, no. About a month ago, I started getting DMs from this one girl. Stuff like, you're pathetic, no wonder he's happier now. And he told me what you did to him. Obviously, I blocked her, but for every account I blocked there were 2 more ready to come at me. I eventually had to make my social media private. About 2 weeks later, I was out on a date when my ex and this new girlfriend just so happened to show up at the same place. He made a scene, loudly accusing me of stalking him. I was literally eating dinner in a public restaurant. His girlfriend filmed it and posted it on TikTok with some caption about that crazy ex me, yes me. I'm the crazy ex guys. It blew up more than I ever expected. Not like millions of views, but enough that people I knew started sending me the video asking if it was me. Random strangers commented about how I'm a homewrecker, without even knowing the situation. I'm just so exhausted of everything. I want to move far away, and get out, but my job just doesn't allow for that. I'm really just so done with him. I'm in the process of getting a restraining order now. I know this isn't the update y'all probably wanted, sorry. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, please take your car to a mechanic and have them look for tracking devices. If you find one, you can take it to the police station and they can find out who put it there. It's time to look into stalking charges. Reply, I didn't even think about how he knew my location. Thanks a lot, I'll go see one ASAP. Commenter 2, well now you can take the TikTok footage and all the texts and file a restraining order. Reply, I guess so, but the footage is mostly just me sobbing while I'm desperately trying to leave. Commenter 3, I know it doesn't feel like it, but ignoring them is the best revenge. I almost feel like this girl is not really his GF, but just some chick he knows who is willing to help him try to bait you. Get the restraining order and never speak to them. It will bother them the most, and eventually, they will stop simply because they aren't being fed any drama. Commenter 4, how pathetic he is that he is in a new relationship and he is still seething over you. You live in his mind rent-free. Let the mama's boy enjoy his own filth. I'm so glad for you that this was over before marriage. He is looking for a reaction, don't give him any. Stay safe. Stories number 8. Aita for telling my pregnant wife I want a divorce. My 26M wife 25F is 5 months pregnant and recently admitted to something that I don't think I can forgive. She dropped out of high school due to family issues and started working low-wage jobs. When we met I was already more established in my career as an accountant. We dated and talked for hours on end on how we wanted our lives to be. I wanted to grow in my career and she said she wanted to go back for her GED and get bachelor's degree to become a teacher. We both wanted to do these things before we had any kids. After we married she quit her job and she said she didn't want to get another job because she wanted to focus on getting her GED and getting a college degree. I said fine, I'd put in more hours to support us both and I did. She finally got her GED after a year of trying and failing the tests. I was so proud of her and told her I was. Well, she started bringing up what if we have a baby already? I said no, that we had agreed until after we had reached our goals, and it stayed at that. When she got pregnant I was excited, but also somewhat confused as she had been on birth control the whole time. She said maybe it had been a miracle and that it was a sign that we were ready. Well, recently she confessed that she had gotten off of her birth control to purposely get pregnant. I was furious and stormed out and said I was going to divorce her. I am sleeping at a hotel currently and didn't get much sleep last night due to thinking. She's been calling non-stop and texting and she's crying telling me she's sorry, but I haven't answered. Did I overreact? Aita. Comments. Commenter 1. Oof baby trapping and lying to you. I'd be livid if my life changed forever based on a lie. Commenter 2. Happened to me, it sucks. We had only been dating a year and I was trying to end it. Now I'm co-parenting with her in my house, making negative money to cover her, the kid, and myself. We have no chemistry and I want to get out, but the kid is awesome and sorting out childcare for a toddler is hard enough between two, couldn't imagine it solo with my 70 hours per week job. Commenter 3. NTA. She's manipulative and clearly just wants to be a som. Which is fine, but she's not being honest and lied to you. Get out now. Get a lawyer, know your options and get you ducks in a row. Better to cope a rent than stay married to someone you can't trust. Commenter 4. NTA. To be honest, I feel like she misled you throughout the whole relationship. I get a vibe that she saw an established guy who could be a meal ticket and she led you to believe she had all these lofty aspirations that she really didn't to impress you given that you were socioeconomically above her, plus the fact that she has a dysfunctional background. If she can barely obtain a GED, she will have a hard time passing college courses. Especially given the fact that you allowed her the luxury of not working and being able to solely focus on her GED, I'm not sure how she'd fail multiple times unless she wasn't really taking the tests or failing on purpose to delay it and carry out her secret pregnancy plot. I wouldn't put either past her. I don't think she ever intended to be a teacher, she just wanted to snag someone to live off of and her trapping you into a pregnancy is slimy and pretty much just solidifies my opinion. Divorce is perfectly understandable and well within your right, but just be prepared for alimony/child support. You're going to pay either way. Stories number 9. Aita for telling my husband he doesn't get to decide what I do with my body. I have been married to my husband for about 5 years. Overall, we have a good relationship, but lately we've been clashing over something that, to me, feels like common sense: my body equals my decision. The most recent fight started when I mentioned possibly getting on birth control again. He immediately jumped in saying he didn't like how it changes my hormones, and that he'd prefer I just stay off it. I told him that I respect his opinion, but at the end of the day, I'm the one dealing with the side effects of not being on anything. He doesn't get the cramps, the stress, the, oh no, is this a pregnancy scare, anxiety. When I said, look, it's my body, and I'm the one who has to manage it, not you, he got really defensive and accused me of not caring about his feelings. To be clear, I do care, he's my husband, I listen to him. But I also feel like it's unfair for him to think he gets a final vote on decisions that literally affect my health. For context, this isn't just about birth control. He's also made comments before when I cut my hair short or when I considered getting a small tattoo. Nothing extreme, but enough that I'm noticing a pattern. I told him flat out, you don't have the right to tell me what to do with my body. He said that was disrespectful. Now I'm wondering if I was too blunt, or if I just set a boundary that needed to be set. So, Aita for standing my ground. Comments. Commenter 1. Make him an appointment to get snipped. Since we are telling each other what to do with each other's bodies, I figured you wouldn't mind. Edit, I'm fully being sarcastic here. In no way do I expect this man would ever give up his bodily autonomy like he expects her to do. Sometimes a shocking response will bring people back to reality and to a place where genuine conversation can happen. In all seriousness, you need to talk to him and explain the various methods of birth control that don't affect you hormonally. Conversation is always the first and best answer, unless the person is incapable of such. Then you have to weigh if you are willing to bend to their will on everything. And to the one who said I'm a misandries, you couldn't be more wrong. I love men. Especially the one I've been happily married to for 30 years who still lights my fire and could eat me with a spoon. Have the day you deserve. Oh, and because I'm a proper Southern belle, bless your heart. Reply, haha, honestly I've thought about saying something like that. If he really wants a say in the process, then maybe he can volunteer his body for the procedure instead of micromanaging mine. Commenter 2, make him ask you before he shaves. He wants a say about your hair, fair is fair. Let's add to it that you want him to shave his legs, you don't like the hair. Also, while we're at it, let's talk manscaping and haircuts. Also, you're not comfortable with the amount of caffeine he's ingesting. You have to deal with him, so that needs to be called back. His clothing choices are also a point of contention. You don't like some of them, so you now get the final say before he leaves the house. Now see how he likes his body policed and micromanaged. He claims disrespect like a dad that found out he was in the wrong with his kid so instead gets mad at the kid's tone. He doesn't respect your autonomy and is being disrespectful. Commenter 3, you are in no way the asshole zilch. Your body, your choice, and I suspect your husband would be equally offended if you said something about his body. Iguaran goddamn it. Reply, exactly. That's what I was thinking too. If the situation were reversed and I told him what he could or couldn't do with his body, I know he wouldn't take it well either. I'm glad I'm not crazy for drawing that line. Commenter 4, I'm not so concerned about his initial reaction although that's bad enough but him saying you are being disrespectful when you defend your choices. Respect isn't something you can demand from your partner. And if you doing what you feel is best for your body feels disrespectful to him then what you can infer is that he thinks you should respect him as an authority. That I don't like. That gives me the ick in a big way. If it were me I'd sit down with him and lay it out, how it makes you feel, what your expectations are in the future, and what you'll tolerate in terms of his behavior. Yes, he is allowed an opinion. No, his opinion doesn't weigh more than your opinion. And ask him if he truly understands that this is your body, being married does not mean you gave up your autonomy as a human being, and that he has expressed that he doesn't like it when you do the same to him. If he refuses to communicate or see your point of view, or doubles down, think about what he is telling you. Does he respect you? Or are you only supposed to respect him? Update, Aita for telling my husband he doesn't get to decide what I do with my body. My husband didn't really bring it up, and I decided not to push it right away. A couple of nights later, I started the conversation again, but this time in a calm way. I told him, I'm not ignoring how you feel, but this is about my health and my peace of mind. If birth control helps me feel secure, then that has to be my decision. To my surprise, he actually listened. He admitted he reacted defensively because he felt shut out, but he also acknowledged it was unfair to expect me to handle all the risks and stress on my own. He still doesn't love the idea of hormonal birth control, but he agreed it's ultimately my call. We also talked about the other things, like his comments about my haircut and the tattoo. I explained that those remarks made me feel like he wanted control over me. He apologized and said that wasn't his intention, and he understood why it bothered me. We're not completely perfect now, but I do feel like he heard me more clearly this time. For now, I'm making the choices that feel right for me, and he knows it's not something he gets the final say on. Honestly, that feels like progress. Not a full resolution yet, but definitely a step in the right direction. Comments. Commenter 1. Terrific outcome, so glad you were able to talk it through. Thanks for sharing it, best of luck. Reply. Thank you, I really appreciate that. I'm glad we were able to actually talk instead of just arguing this time. Fingers crossed it keeps moving in the right direction. Commenter 2. I would ask him where his concern from birth control is coming from. Is it an article? A podcast? Or does he simply not like the idea of medication? There has been an uprise on social media of people going off of birth control because it did actually mess with their personal health or mental health. But that doesn't mean it's not meant for everyone. Yes, there are definitely risks, but it actually helps some help balance their hormones more, acne etc. Not just the perk of, no baby, even though it's not 100% either. I'm not saying this because you don't know this. But maybe he's on that side of the internet, and it could be helpful to know that it works differently for everyone and it's not a one-size-fits-all. And a lot of men don't really understand how it works and the nuance of it. A lot of people on birth control are feeling like they have to get off of it because of others saying it helped them. Glad you stood your ground and are having these conversations. Commenter 3. Why do I get the feeling that the next post is going to be, my STBX messed with my birth control and now I'm pregnant? For some reason I don't believe that he is okay with the birth control thing and being all apologetic about the rest of the stuff he said. I don't know what it is, but this update doesn't sit well with me. He is very opinionated about what she can and can't do. Those little comments he was making about haircut or tattoos came from somewhere. Then the birth control thing. I think it's quiet before the storm and I don't think it's over yet. If I'm wrong and he did really have a reflection on himself and what he was doing, then great. All the best. I just have this weird feeling. Commenter 4. All glad the conversation went well. You have to do what's right for you. If his concerns are about your health, then he can express that, but ultimately it is your body and you get to make that final decision. Stories number 10. Are you pregnant? No, I'm 14. A couple years ago when I 14F was at the traveling fair with my family, I decided to go on one of those kiddie roller coasters with my little siblings. The person who was running the ride muttered something as I was trying to get on and refused to let me past. I thought he was saying, "Are you the parent?" But then he repeated himself, "Are you pregnant?" I was too shocked to respond for a few seconds, but then I awkwardly said, "I'm 14. That's not an appropriate question." And moved on. He looked embarrassed for a total of 3 seconds before he scoffed and moved on to talking to the next person. I didn't think much of it. I was clearly upset about it but willing to shrug it off so I wouldn't make a scene. He was clearly uncomfortable, but he still didn't apologize or anything. I wasn't about to demand an apology as the socially awkward kid that I was, so I figured I could just leave it at that. But my brother was not having it. He told my mom and she was livid. She immediately stormed over to the customer service area. The office? I don't know what to call it. But she ended up getting our trip fully paid for and we got a free ticket for next time. But my mom didn't think that was enough. The manager ended up forcing the ride operator to personally apologize in front of my mom and a few of his coworkers. He was clearly embarrassed, but I didn't care. He deserved it. We bought some cotton candy and mini donuts and didn't go back. Again, I don't know if this is the right kind of story to post here, but here it is anyway. Comments. Commenter 1. For those saying that the employee was correct in asking, no, he wasn't. Fairs and amusement parks are required, by law, to put up signs warning customers with certain medical conditions to not ride the rides or continue with extreme caution. These signs not only warn the public but protect the company from being sued if the customer decides to ride it anyways and gets injured. That's why there are signs there. As long as those signs are there, the company is protected from being sued. They warned the public like they should have, and if the public doesn't listen, it's no longer their responsibility. That's also why we have wet floor signs. We don't want people to fall, of course, but it also protects the company if someone does slip and fall. You can't sue them because there was a sign there warning you of a wet floor. That employee was 100% in the wrong for asking, and it was completely inappropriate. What is he gonna do, ask every single woman and girl who goes into his line asking if they're pregnant? The boss handled it correctly and hopefully the employee didn't ask anyone again. It's not his responsibility and it's not his job. His job is to secure the passengers and control the ride. Anything else is entirely up to the customer. Legally, it's called the assumption of risk. Now some states may have different laws and restrictions, but generally it's required. Commenter 2. This reminds me of when I was 16 and we went to a theme park with my boyfriend's aunt and uncle who had just had a baby. They wanted to go on one of the rides, so we offered to watch the baby, and we got so many dirty looks from people who thought we were teen parents. Commenter 3. When I worked at an amusement park, there was a ride where we were instructed to ask ride-goers their weight as they went up the stairs if they appeared to be past the limit. It was a water ride. You could ride 1 or 2 person tubes. I think it was a 250 pounds limit for 1 person and 400 pounds total for 2. If I let someone visually overweight though, the manager would yell at me. Not only was it awkward, it felt incredibly inappropriate and invasive. Commenter 4. My cousin operated a roller coaster one summer and he got into the habit of shouting guests, "Please take note of the warning signs before getting on the ride," and using a stick to tap on one of the signs at every loading. No invasive questions, just a teenager trying his best to avoid being traumatized because someone couldn't pay attention. Stories number 11. My 32F husband, 35M, cooked a meal for my friend, 29F, and remembered her favorite drink from years ago. My 32F, close friend, 29F, called her Lana, who I rarely get to see. She lives in CA now, came to visit from out of town. She's a very kind, sweet friend. She's also a very pretty Asian girl who gets quite a bit of attention from men. The only day/time she was able to fly in, I would be wrapping up an important on-site work event. But my husband, 35M, was on PTO that day, so I asked Lana if she'd be okay with him picking her up at the airport and bringing her back to our house. She'd just have to wait for 1.5 hours with my husband and dog while I finished up work. Husband agreed, and Lana was grateful. When I finally got home, Lana and I were going to get some drinks and catch up at this cute little speakeasy near my house. She told me she had the best review of my husband to give me. I asked, what did he do? She said he was such a gentleman. When he picked her up at the airport, he immediately got out of the car, took her luggage from her, opened her passenger door, told her to get in, made sure she was comfortable, closed her door for her, then he took her luggage back to the trunk and loaded it. She said, by comparison, when her boyfriend picks her up at the airport, he just pops the trunk when he sees her walking up. When she got in the car, she realized he had gotten her Starbucks. She told him that's so sweet, he didn't have to do that. He told her it was no problem, he figured she might want some coffee after such a long flight. But the drink he had gotten her was a flat white, which is her favorite drink. She's been obsessed with them since college. She asked him, how did you know I like this? Did your wife tell you? He said he remembered she had mentioned liking them once at a dinner we were all at 3 years ago. When they got home, he asked her if she was hungry. She said she was very hungry, but would grab something to go later when I got back. He said nonsense and offered to make her something. She said, please no, I don't want to trouble you, I can eat later. He asked her what she would pick up later. She said pasta. He said, I can make pasta right now, and went into the kitchen. He made her homemade red sauce pasta and served it to her. She said it was delicious. He asked if she wanted a glass of sangria and poured it for her. He then also gave her a cherry Dr. Pepper Zero without asking. We have basically every flavor of zero soda in our fridge, but that is her favorite. She didn't ask how he knew that or if it was a coincidence, and I'm not sure either. She said I did well, and he's one of the good ones. He does cook for me sometimes when planned and does nice things, and he is a nice guy overall. This just seems, kind of, IDK romantic. How can I handle this? How do I talk to my husband about it? Any advice here would be appreciated. TLDR, my female friend visited, and my husband was very gentlemanly and considerate to her. I might be bothered. How can I address this with him? Comments. Commenter 1. So does he give this same level of consideration to you, or has he stopped trying? If he's stopped, I can understand that you're probably upset that his good behavior is being seen by someone who isn't his wife and that you're stuck with a lack of care. Reply. He doesn't usually stop midday and offer to cook me homemade pasta. He's not the best at remembering little details. He does do things for me, though. He's not a lazy husband, if that's what you're asking. Commenter 2. My husband and I are both pretty attentive to each other's needs, my husband being especially thoughtful. However, we go above and beyond for guests, like way beyond what you do on a daily basis. I wouldn't expect my husband to drop everything to make a homemade lunch for me during a normal weekday, but you bet your ass I'd expect him to do it for our guest. That's because I in particular was strictly raised to be a good host like that, and I'm extremely proud of and grateful to my husband for stepping up his usual good hosting game to meet me at my excellent hosting game standards. I'd be super proud of my husband if he looked after my friend this well and this attentively, because it's how I was raised to treat guests. It would feel like a compliment to me that my husband worked so hard to treat my guest the way he knows I'd want her to be treated. If this is causing you jealousy, I'd ask yourself if there's something lacking in your marriage that needs to be addressed, or if you're just feeling insecure in general. Because I can only imagine bursting at the seams with pride if my husband acted like this toward my friend, but that's also because I feel attended to in my marriage. If I felt jealous, it would be because there was an underlying lack, which would be the real thing I needed to address. Commenter 3. If he normally treats guests this way, then you're overreacting, but if she's the only person he's treated that way besides you, yeah, you should be concerned. Reply. He's normally kind and considerate to our guests, of course. But not this much. She sounded like she was swept off her feet. Commenter 4. My 6th grade teacher's favorite candy was Rolos. No clue why I know that, I certainly don't love her, but I remember weird things about people. If it's making you feel itchy, it's because something is making you feel itchy, and this just highlights it. You need to sit in your feelings for a bit. Him being nice and remembering her lifelong favorite drink isn't enough to vilify the situation. If however you feel like you are always forgotten, never treated kindly, and this whole experience is highlighting the disparity, then that is the conversation. Otherwise, yes, this sounds like you're overreacting. Stories number 12. I won't let my sister meet my son because of her views on surrogacy. When my husband 32M and I 28M told our families about our intentions to have a child within the next year, my sister 34F is the only one who reacted with anything other than support. For our first baby, my husband and I decided on going the surrogacy route. My sister seemingly took this as a personal attack. She spent the rest of the dinner my parents were hosting essentially ranting about how surrogacy is misogynistic, exploitative, that we're gross for wanting to rent a woman's body. Okay, sure. You can have your thoughts on the process. But it didn't end there. Every time we gave an update to family and she was in attendance, she would make it a point of reminding us how she felt. Our son was born a little over 2 months ago. We've been keeping him to ourselves since he was born so his immune system strengthens, but we've been slowly introducing him to more people lately. My husband's parents came over 2 weeks ago, and then my parents came last weekend. Yesterday, my sister texted to ask when she could meet the baby, and I told her I didn't particularly want someone around him who was so against his entire existence. I said that if she had it her way, my son wouldn't even be here. She says I'm being unfair, but I just can't imagine her around my child when she was so adamantly disdainful towards us during his conception and throughout the pregnancy. Aita Reddit, my husband and I are both men. It's in the first line of the post. Comments. Commenter 1. My grandma would say, you burn a blister, you sit on it. She should have chosen her words more carefully if she didn't want them to come back and haunt her. Commenter 2. NTA. My husband and I did IVF after years of infertility. A family member was very open about how IVF was a sin and even called my unborn child an abomination and a lab rat. We still have very limited contact with this person and have never nor will we ever allow them to be alone or close in contact with our child. There are certain events where this person cannot be avoided, but we keep our distance. Like you don't have to agree to the steps someone takes to build their family, but you can keep those negative thoughts to yourself. There's no need to have that negativity around something as happy as a baby. Commenter 3. Nta. My friend has been a surrogate and she loves it. She enjoys pregnancy, but didn't want to have more children. She also loves being able to help couples who were struggling. So your sister can't speak for all women. Commenter 4. Surrogate here. I enjoy being pregnant and I don't get any of the normal symptoms: morning sickness, headaches, exhaustion. I'm about to give a family a child and that's so fucking cool to me that I'm able to do this incredible thing and change someone's life. Update. My husband and I made the decision to allow my sister to meet our son a few weeks ago. It was my Nana's birthday and we thought it would be best to give things a try. Things went well until the topic of us having more children came up. My cousin asked us if when we planned on having another baby. My sister piped up with, I hope you meant it when you said you were going to adopt this time. I know it's not the most egregious of mistakes, but the fact that she still feels so comfortable voicing her opposition to how our son was conceived shows that nothing has changed. We gave her a chance, and now we know we still can't trust her. We called my parents the next day and let them know what happened and how it made us feel. I just can't trust her around my child, possible upcoming children. I truly think that if we adopted in the future, she'd at best show some kind of favoritism, or at worst blatantly tell our children that one of them was unethical. We're trying to make this as non-disruptive as possible for my parents. I told them that we would try to find child care for birthdays and other non-holiday events so that we could still attend, but that our son would obviously be with us on Christmas, Thanksgiving, etc. I'm not asking them to choose between me or my sister, but that we would have to find an alternate day to celebrate if she's invited to holiday parties. Or that we would have to stagger time so that we won't be there at the same time. Comments. Commenter 1. No. No, do not hide your son from birthdays, and stuff like that. If ever there was a time to make your parents choose, this is it. NTA. Reply. I clarified this in another comment, but this was always just a near future kind of arrangement. We never planned on doing this once our son is old enough to be aware of these events. But you're right, even doing it now sets a bad precedent, doesn't it? The more I think about it, the angrier I get all over again. Commenter 2. If your son stays home on those events, then you should probably stay home too, with your husband. All of you show up or none of you. I think you're a sensitive dad, very clearly trying to protect your son from the negativity that is your sister. Chin up, you've got this. Commenter 3. You gave her a second chance. You were fair and she blew it. There shouldn't be a third chance or a fourth chance or whatever. I applaud you for you telling your parents that hey, when it comes to holidays, we'll celebrate on alternate days so you don't have to choose between your children. You sound like a real stand-up guy and I don't know what your sister's hang-up is. You would think she would be overjoyed with you bringing any child into the family, whether it's adopted or a surrogate. Congratulations on your son and any other children that you bring into your marriage/family. I don't know what your sister's hang-up is, but you are definitely NTA for trying to keep your son away from all that drama. Commenter 4. I hope you told her that she just blew her only chance to know your child. Reply, I wanted my Nana to have a nice birthday. I also didn't really have it in me to say anything to her then, because I was feeling so guilty about giving her access to my child at all. We left shortly after and I had a good cry on the way home. I know he's not going to remember any of this, but I was just so angry at myself for doubting myself and changing my mind. I'm doing better now. I'm not going to beat myself up for extending an olive branch and trying. Commenter 5. Why should your son be excluded from family events? Seriously, if your sister will be in attendance, then none of you should go. It's not fair to him. You would be the ones treating him like a second-class citizen. Reply, this really only applies to the near future. Circumstances will change once he's older. Really, circumstances might change even before that. This is us trying to keep the peace for my parents' sake, but their comfort is not going to stop us from prioritizing our son. Stories number 13. My pregnant daughter move in with me even though my girlfriend doesn't want her to. I 40M have an 18-year-old daughter with my ex-wife, call her Maddie. We divorced when she was 7, and I have her 3 weekends a month. Her mom moved to a suburb almost an hour outside the city to be closer to her family and for a better school. My work was in the city, and after a while Maddie got sick of all the driving and asked if we could go to a different schedule. We talked most days on the phone, and I have been very involved in her life. She's a great student, graduated with over a 4.0, has a lot of friends and a what I thought very nice boyfriend. She has no idea what she wants to do with her life, and had already decided to defer her scholarship a year to take classes at the community college and work. I also have a girlfriend Vera 37 and she gets along with Maddie great. We've been together about 2 years and she just moved into my house a few months ago. Edit. Her told roommate got married and she couldn't afford rent alone. We've been together almost 2 years and I was considering proposing, so it seemed like a good idea after she couldn't find another place. She pays the electric and water bills but my house is paid off, so I just pay taxes, insurance, and the other utilities, and it's been great. I didn't really date much the past few years between Maddie and work, so it's nice having someone always around. Vera doesn't want kids of her own, and I don't want any more, so it's been great. So for all that, Maddie is pregnant and her mom has kicked her out. Her boyfriend has another year left of nursing school and lives in a college apartment with roommates. She is of course staying here for now and found out late, she's due in January. She and her boyfriend went over the options and decided to keep the baby. She told me very meekly and asked if she could stay. I told her of course, she knows this is disappointing but she'll never stop being my baby, and if this is what's going to happen, I'm here to support her within reason. As in, I'm fine babysitting if she has work or class, and she will keep working and going to school, but I'm not babysitting for her to party or hang out with friends. If the boyfriend bails, which I was as kind as I could be but told her happens even with the nicest boys, she would need to file child support. And I would give her grace before and after birth, but when she's recovered she will go back to doing chores on top of baby ones. I told her and the boyfriend to sleep on it and they did and came back with actual thoughtful responses, and even a budget goal that I found impressive. So, the tiny bedroom next to Maddie's that is currently home to a treadmill I never use is going to be a nursery. Of course I've kept Vera in the loop during all of this edit, and by this I mean I don't know how many different ways I need to put this so it gets through people's heads. Vera and I discussed all of this before I talked to the kids. In depth. I made her very aware that the 3 of them could end up living here for a few years. She was supportive. I kept her in the loop. When them living here became the plan, she gave me an ultimatum and told me to kick my daughter out because she's an adult. I told her I wouldn't do that. She is still here and making everyone uncomfortable, and she seemed really understanding until I told her the plan. She got upset and said if she wanted to raise a baby she'd have one of her own. She said she didn't sign up for this and is not okay with it, and demanded I rescind the offer, that Maddie is 18 and needs to figure it out on her own if she wants to keep the baby. I told her I wouldn't do that, she'll always be my daughter and needs help. She threatened to move out if I didn't tell Maddie to get out, then got mad that I told her I understood. Now she's avoiding the both of us but still staying here or being snippy. I don't know what she expects me to do, but it's making the entire house anxious. Edit. Stop saying that. Vera would be shocked that Maddie moved in. This is Maddie's home. She's always lived here. Yes, the rest is a surprise, but not my daughter living in her home. Comments. Commenter 1. Say goodbye to this relationship. Commenter 2. OP already said he chose his daughter over his girlfriend. But the girlfriend, who was supposedly ready to leave, has nowhere to go and can't afford to live independently, so she's just angry her ultimatum didn't work while still living with OP. Commenter 3. Funny how that works. The girlfriend thinks OP's pregnant 18 years old must be independent and out of the house, while she, 37 and without any children, should be given shelter and food on the table. Commenter 4. Time to tell you GF she can do what's best for her, but your daughter will probably be here for 3 to 4 years. Let her know you want her to stay but your life will change. Update, Aita for letting my pregnant daughter live with me even though my girlfriend says no. My last post got a little overwhelming. I'm still glad I did it. Reading the comments I just got to the point I was like, what am I doing? I asked Vera to talk, she started. She actually did kind of apologize, said she was just stressed because she's expected Maddie to either keep the same custody schedule or maybe a bit more, but not full-time and certainly not with a baby. And then she didn't think I'd actually let her live here with the baby. She said she'd be able to work with a compromise of Maddie and the boyfriend, let's call him Doug, getting their own place when he started working full-time, and they could promise to never ask her for help. I guess she thought as long as she has an end in sight she would be able to handle it. I told her I understood, but her behavior was out of line and I can't see us working out after this. She was upset and seemed shocked and got pretty mad. I told her she was welcome to stay in the basement, finished, walk out, with a kitchenette for a month while she found a new place, and I'd pay her back for the bills she'd paid $790, so I rounded up to $1,000. She wasn't happy at any of this and was freaking out, so I called and asked Maddie if she could stay with Doug for the night. I offered to give Vera some space and she told me to fuck off. I was working from home that day so I was around but not in her way at all while she moved her things downstairs. She had worked that night and let me know the next morning she'd be moving to her friends. I offered help but again she said no and left her key on the counter. I changed the security code, but told her if she left anything there just to let me know and I'd let her in to come and get it. So I thought there'd be no drama. I was actually obviously sad but felt better about the whole thing. We can't prove anything, but Maddie's carnivore plants started rapidly dying the last few days, and she said a bunch of her concentrated fertilizer was gone. We all know not to touch them or water them, as in she had me install rain barrels because they can't have tap water. She's devastated and hasn't said it directly, but I think we both think Vera did something to them. I've asked her if she wants me to do anything about it and she said no. And at one point Vera sent her a nasty text saying she's the reason I'm alone and she hopes she's happy. I told her to block her. I don't know if she feels guilty or like she deserves it. She doesn't even want me to replace them and said she'll just try to salvage some of them. So if anyone knows of good sites in the US to buy pictures or pings, hit me up. So not great. I'm gonna stay single for a while obviously. But there's some good news. I have a female friend who Maddie has known forever and has had kids, and she took her out to lunch. My issue was that Maddie thought she could power through and take courses in the spring with a newborn. She wouldn't listen to me and told me she'd make it work. My friend was able to convince her that one semester wasn't going to ruin her life, so that is a positive. And the boyfriend Doug, I talked with his parents. They are like me, not thrilled but going to be supportive and excited for a grandbaby. They live over an hour away though, but told them I had a spare room they could use when they visit. And Doug, who does work part-time while he's in school, I told him yes, work this semester but next semester your number one job is to finish your degree no matter what. I am willing to support them both financially and with the baby more than I normally would next semester because I know the best way to ensure my grandbaby has a good life is making sure their dad has his degree and a good job. He seemed to understand and was thankful. Maybe he's not as much of a ding-dong as I thought he was, lol. Too long, didn't read. I broke up with Vera and she moved into a friend's. We don't know if it was her, but Maddie's plants have been dying and she's devastated. But the boyfriend is doing good and moving in so he can be a present parent. Comments. Commenter 1. You're a great example to Doug in how to father a child. Commenter 2, good riddance to Vera. As far as the plants go, I'd try transplanting them, remove as much soil as possible from the roots first. Commenter 3, you're a great dad and I hope your daughter and her partner really make the most out of the opportunity you've given them. I hope other parents take note that you don't have to be thrilled with everything your kid does and can be disappointed, but it doesn't mean you leave them hanging. Your ex sounded like an ass. You're a parent and always will be. Commenter 4, how did Vera expect the same custody when Maddie's mom kicked her out? Did she just expect your daughter to be homeless other than 3 weekends a month? That is just unhinged. I'm glad your friend managed to convince Maddie to take a semester off. I had a child the last semester of my post-secondary. Honestly, college was easier than high school, because I waited a few years. That being said, I took 2 semesters off when I had my child. I went back when she was 9 months old, and it was hard. She was actually only waking up once a night, and my parents watched her during class, but it is still hard. Maddie might realize, once she has 1 semester off, that she might need more than 1 semester to be able to handle schoolwork and being a parent. Maybe closer to let her know that is okay if she needs another semester, or if you are comfortable with it, 2 more semesters. I'm also really glad you're planning on supporting Doug too. That is huge, and letting him stay there, so he can be a present parent, is major. Just remind your daughter that once she has her baby she can end up pregnant again before her period comes back, and while she is breastfeeding, so that is something she needs to discuss with whoever does her post-pregnancy care. Especially with Doug living with you guys. Good luck, and know that you are the parent we should all aspire to be. You're there for your daughter through one of the hardest transitions of her life, and you want her to be set up for success. Stories number 14, Aita for not helping my ex after her miscarriage. I am 21, dated my ex, page F22, all through high school. Our relationship was awful year 1 of college. I had a one-night stand and cheated on her. I know I'm an but she wanted to work things out. A year later, I found out she'd been sleeping with one of our mutuals for months and ended things. Obviously it was fair that she cheated, but we just weren't in love. We kept hooking up for a few months after and broke things fr 6 mo ago. Weeks after we broke things off, Paige Mia told me she was pregnant and I was the dad. I didn't want to be with her, so I told her we could co-parent. She wasn't happy about that, but she didn't really get a choice. Well, a month or so after that, she called me sobbing and told me she miscarried. I was heartbroken, but felt worse for her because that's an awful thing to go through. I told her I'd help with any medical expenses or finding support counseling resources, but she got upset at me for not being more supportive and staying with her at her place or calling her more. I have a new partner now and don't really talk to Paige, but some of her friends have texted me saying she hasn't recovered and wants to talk to me and I should help her. I haven't checked in on her in a couple months. I don't expect her to be over the miscarriage at all, but I don't get why she's expecting me to be the one to help her through it. I'm not a professional, so I don't think I can help by being in touch with her. Aita. Any advice is appreciated too. Edit to add, sorry for the confusion, I didn't just cut her off after she miscarried. I'd text her every once in a while for a couple months afterwards. Usually she'd text back saying she wanted me to come stay with her. I'd decline and send her links to support groups and whatnot. Last time was in June. I asked her how she was, she said bad. I asked if she got help, she said no. I said she should and I'd be there to help navigate it, and that was that. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, she was sleeping with someone else for months. How would any of you know that you were the father of the lost child? Reply, I guess I don't have any proof. The way the timeline worked out, that guy wouldn't have been the dad since they stopped seeing each other the second I found out, and she, when we were basically FWB, she wasn't with anyone else that I was aware of. Commenter 2, do you have proof that she was ever pregnant in the first place? Reply, no I don't. Maybe I'm stupid, but I didn't think I needed any. That's just such a big thing to lie about. Downvoted commenter, YTA. Dipped as soon as she was pregnant and couldn't even bother to have a conversation with the girl after she lost your child. I hope the other girl runs from you because you're a POS. Please learn something from this experience. Reply, I didn't dip as soon as she was pregnant, my fault for not making the timeline clear. December we broke up and kept hooking up until February and then stopped early March. She tells me she's pregnant, we had a lot of conversations. I the co-parenting one. End of March she miscarried. I kept checking up on her until like mid-May and then eventually stopped texting her, haven't texted since June. So no, I did not dip as soon as I found out she was pregnant. And yes, we did have a conversation, we had several. Commenter 3, She's not your problem anymore. You can't really confirm if it was even your child or if she was really even pregnant. She could have just been pulling at your heartstrings to try to get you back because she saw you moved on. Reply, it being a lie is a possibility. We have a lot of mutual friends though, so I don't want to mention it since if I'm wrong it does way more harm than good, especially since me believing the potential lie doesn't really affect my day-to-day. Commenter 4. Your ex might not even realize this herself but the whole wanting you to stay at her place and call you more sounds like she wants you to be a part of her future. It's important for her to have a support system in place during this. She's obviously got friends around her and for them to be nudging you towards a more active role in all this also makes me think she admitted to them she wants you back. If I were Paige's friend, I would have said forget him, focus on you unless she expressed regret over the breakup and then I would be texting you to call her. I'm sorry for your loss. Reply, I should have mentioned this, the reason I even considered it is because she's pushing all her friends away. They're having to go great lengths to keep in touch with her like showing up at her place unannounced since she won't text back. They've been really sympathetic with her but NGL I think are just getting tired, especially since one of the mutual who texted me is just going through her own grief about something unrelated right now. I think they're just tired and running out of options and she's apparently super opposed to going to counseling. Update to Aita for not helping my ex after her miscarriage. I wasn't going to update but this got crazy. I have a friend, Anna, who's close with Paige and dating my best friend. Anna got back from study abroad and this was our text copy and pasted since I can't add pics. Anna, hey this is ROY random but did DD talk to you about what happened in March? Me, yeah she knew right away why. Anna, ick man she told me what happened. I know things are weird y'all and I wanted to make sure she actually told you and y'all went to a doctor. Me, yeah like while ago did you want me to talk to her? Anna, ick she wants to talk to you but that's not my business IDC. This isn't either I just wanted to make sure you were good. Me, yeah alright welcome back thanks for checking, I'm over it now so I'm fine. I assumed she meant the miscarriage that Paige's other friends texted me to help her through. But I saw Anna in person after this and she asked me if being good meant testing negative or getting treatment. I was confused and she explained what Paige told her, which I'm guessing is the truth. Paige told Anna she was sleeping around before and after we broke up and got pregnant. Paige was confident it was not mine and got an abortion. When getting checked after in March she got diagnosed with chlamydia. The only thing I'm mad about is that she didn't tell me she had an STD, I'm honestly over all the other stuff at this point. Also I want to note that it's super weird that Paige told Anna. Anna both caught me cheating and told Paige and caught Paige cheating and told me. She's a great friend but a total narc. Not my go-to for secrets. Anyway, my partner and I have appointments to get tested because I might have chlamydia for 6 months. If I should text Paige and chew her out I'm so pissed off. Edit to clarify, Anna being a narc isn't a bad thing. We call her a narc to tease her because she can't keep surprises and always spills your secret if it's the right thing to do and we love her for it, she keeps us in check. That's my fault for phrasing it poorly. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your ex told Anna knowing it'd get back to you, so you either get tested but she doesn't have to tell you if it's true, or if it's not true so you'll reach out even if it's for chewing her out. Get tested. Don't engage with her. That's most probably what she wants. Reply, this makes a lot of sense. I was really confused about her telling Anna since there's no way she didn't think she would tell me. According to Anna she didn't even say anything to the effect of, don't say anything to him, if negative, reaching out is definitely a no, if positive, I'm honestly not sure. Commenter 2, NTA. I could be completely wrong in being unfair to your ex, but I can't help but wonder if, in her head, this is how she is punishing you for failing to come back to the relationship. She didn't miscarry, she aborted. It's absolutely her right and her choice to do so, and probably wise, under the circumstances but one allows for her to demand your sympathy and emotional support much more than the other. Reply, yeah I'm not upset about her choice at all. It wasn't my kid and even if it was it's her body. I am a bit upset I went through forcing myself to be excited about being a dad to cope and thinking I lost my kid to uncontrolled factors when really I never had one to begin with and the circumstances were controlled. Commenter 3, so you both were cheating and sleeping around? Bro, you're lucky the only thing you caught was chlamydia. Also, why in the ever-living fuck aren't you getting tested more often if you're gonna play it fast and loose with your dick? If you're fucking more than one person get tested every 4 months, especially if you're the kind who cheats. I don't give a damn if you do wrap it up. Get tested every 4 months. Before you give someone something they can't cure. Reply, I cheated one time 3 years ago when I was 18. I'm not saying that makes it okay, it was a horrible thing to do to her, but I also don't consistently sleep around while in a monogamous relationship. But yes, I 100% agreed, I am an idiot, I need to get tested more. I use protection with everyone but Paige, but that's not excuse, this has been a valuable and rough lesson learned. Update 2 to Aita for not helping my ex with her miscarriage. This morning my partner and I found out we have chlamydia and got antibiotics. My partner's surprisingly unbothered and has helped me calm down these past few days. I know I said I'd chew out Paige if I was positive, but now that I've calmed down, I see no point in it. Some told me I could sue her. I'm pretty sure I can't cause she didn't know when we had sex, and even if I could, it's my senior year of college, I have other things to focus on. In other news, Anna cut off Paige and won't tell me why, but she says it has nothing to do with me. I'm kinda glad since Anna was our only real mutual, and Anna, her BF, me, and my partner are renting a place together soon. Doing that with my ex's friend might have been weird. But I'm also honestly really worried about Paige. Anna was her last rational and dependable friend. The other ones who wanted me to help her when she miscarried disappear when things get hard, and Def wanted me to talk to her to get her off their hands. Either way, I won't reach out, especially since my relationship is going really well. I might ask Anna to maybe check in on her, but I won't push. Not much else to say. Don't be like me since I had the clap for 6 months and didn't know. Get tested often and use protection. Edit, I'm trying very hard to stop doing stupid things, and per the advice I've gotten, asking Anna to check on Paige would go against that goal. So no need to worry, I finally blocked Paige and I'm putting this whole thing to rest. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, if you ask more, you'll open more doors. Ta. Reply, I mean I'm curious what's behind the door of why Anna and Paige aren't friends anymore, but it's not my business so I won't ask. Commenter 2, I mean, it definitely sounds like it has everything to do with this drama and the fact that she's about to start living with you. Reply, I see why you think that, Anna's just not the type to lie, so when she says it has nothing to do with me I believe her. We've had plans to all room together for months and the drama has been happening the whole time. She never had a problem being friends with both Paige and I. Commenter 3, dude, don't ask Anna to check on her. That steps on Anna's boundaries. Cut her off and move on. If you think there is a legit danger there, if you truly believe she could harm herself, then you could reach out to her parents with an FYI. But nothing more. Reply, this is a really good point. I forgot I can still access literally anyone else in her life. I don't need to make this Anna's problem. Thank you. Stories number 15. Aita for confronting my brother about not being able to touch his newborns. My brother 28M and his girlfriend 24F just had twins. Prior to the birth they sent a paragraph into a family GC expressing their rules for visiting them in the hospital. Please do not carry the babies for now. The day after the birth, me 23F and my sister 24F were talking to the mom. I asked if her stance on the babies being touched or carried still remains, and she said it does. She continued with how people in our family work construction and smoke cigarettes does not apply to me nor my sister and doesn't want to risk the germs. She used her cousin as an example. He had just came from work construction and wanted to touch the babies, which she said no. I asked if he had showered prior to coming if she would have allowed it. She nodded no. Last night I was showing my BF the photos I took of the twins when I received a notification from the family GC. I immediately clicked to see it. It was a video with this caption: Uncle came to visit the babies. I played the video and it showed the mom on the hospital bed with a baby in the bassinet next to her. Her brother is standing over the bassinet reaching in and touching her head as you hear the mom saying, "Isn't her head soft?" when the video suddenly disappears. The video and message were unsent. Immediately a picture is sent instead with the same caption. This all happened in a matter of seconds. The photo is the same situation as the video except her brother has his hands behind his back and the mom is holding on to the bassinet. I immediately called my sister to tell her. We were both angry. We texted our brother saying we saw the video and he never responded while being active in other chats. Some background. Throughout the pregnancy they vocalized not wanting anyone to touch the kids. My brother had told me he was struggling to find the words to tell my mom that she wasn't going to be allowed to touch or carry the kids. There have been times where my brother tells us one thing until he hears his girlfriend say something else and changes his mind. Twins' grandmother on the mom's side is carrying the babies, feeding, touching, etc. I can kind of understand only trusting your own mother to care for your kids. I still find it unfair for my mother, who is just as much a grandmother. But her 17-year-old brother? Who they always complain about going out clubbing every night until 5 a.m. My sister works an office job and I'm not even working because I moved away and went to visit for this reason only. Present, My sister and I confronted my brother over the phone today. He was alone and he just said that her brother was able to touch one of them because he simply asked and the mother allowed him to. He said we could have gone freshly showered and asked. We said no because we were respecting their very much communicated boundaries. I'm upset because why does her mom and brother get to touch them but not my brother's mom or sisters? Am I the asshole for confronting/coming at him for that? Comments. Commenter 1. YTA, you don't have a right to touch other people's babies. Even if they allow other people to. They don't owe you an explanation either. Lay off your brother and try asking how you can be helpful. Being a new parent is a lot. Commenter 2. If you're going to treat half of the family like second-class citizens, be prepared for the fallout. Being parents is no excuse. Commenter 3. YTA. Your brother just had twins and you're more concerned about the exact policing of baby touching rules than you are the well-being of his poor girlfriend who just had twins. Maybe she forgot and let her brother touch them. Maybe he was pushy and annoying and she gave in out of exhaustion. Maybe, being 17, he still lives with the girlfriend's mom and she figures any germs he has are probably already being passed to the baby via her anyway. Regardless of why, it's not really your business. The babies aren't going to remember who held them for their first few weeks on the planet, but their parents will surely remember which family members' petty grievances caused them unnecessary stress during that time. You can whine and cry about how it's unfair, or you can grow up and adjust your priorities to loving your brother and supporting his new family. I can't imagine confronting my brother about anything short of a truly dire issue days after the birth of his twins. Undoubtedly they're both exhausted and terrified as new parents tend to be. If that leads to being a little overprotective and inconsistent, you could choose to be a bigger person and get over it. Commenter 4. YTA, why do you care so much who touched kids that aren't yours? Why is touching an infant so crucial to your happiness? Please get a hobby of some kind and let the parents decide how they parent. Stories number 16. Aita for refusing to find a way to live with my dad's girlfriend's daughter. My dad's girlfriend is Jenny and she has a daughter, Ruby, who's the same age as me, 17M. Me and Ruby met when we were 11. She had just moved here and was a transfer student at school. At first we didn't really interact and she made friends with some other kids. But then when we did virtual school she would DM me during classes and ask me if I liked this friend of hers, and she did it so much that I asked her why the hell she kept asking when I said no. And I reported it to our teacher and got her into trouble, which pissed her off. Ruby went back to school in person before me and bothered all my friends about me liking her friend. Then she tried to set two of them up with her friend. When I went back to school in person she tried to kiss me one day out of nowhere and I stopped her and was like, WTF are you doing? She really tried to make me accept that kiss, but I was taller and stronger than her so I could keep her away from my mouth easier. After I wouldn't let her kiss me she went to the principal and said one of my friends assaulted her friend, and she made this big deal out of her friend being afraid to report what happened. Her friend said it was all lies and nobody assaulted her, and Ruby got into huge trouble. That's when I came forward with her trying to kiss me and it got her into more trouble. My dad knew about the thing with Ruby and he had to meet with the principal about it. Me and Ruby ended up sharing a bunch of classes when we started high school and she acted like we were exes or something. She went from obsessing over me liking her friend to trying to kiss me, and my friends were like, she probably likes you and wanted to make sure you didn't like the other girl. But everything about it was weird and gross. Like trying to get one of my friends in trouble and trying to make me kiss her. It was a few months after high school started that Dad told me he was dating Jenny, and I already had a big problem with him dating her because of Ruby. But I tried to let it go for my dad's sake. But then when he told me 2 months ago that he was going to ask Jenny to move in with him and that would include Ruby, I told him fuck no, and I packed a bunch of my stuff and went to my grandparents' house. Dad told me I couldn't just do that and I said I would not live with Ruby. Jenny and Ruby moved in and Dad kept trying to make me come home. He said all 4 of us needed to sit down and find a way for me and Ruby to live together, but I said I won't. He asked me why and what will I do when we see each other at family functions, and I told her I'd avoid those functions, or if I was in charge of the guest list I wouldn't invite her. I accused him of choosing Ruby over me. I know he chose his relationship with Jenny over me. But I was like, the fact you expect me to let her invade more of my life is sick, and I told him I was disappointed in the dad he was being. He told me I wasn't being fair, and since Mom died Jenny is the only woman who has truly made him happy and showed him a future he wants. He said I could at least try to learn to live with Ruby for a while, and if it doesn't work it doesn't work. I told him I didn't want that girl anywhere near me. My dad has tried to convince my grandparents to send me back, but they don't want me there either. They told him they don't want to see a violent incident between me and Ruby and that it could easily happen with the history between us. Dad was like that wouldn't happen and he said he wanted us all to try and make this work for his sake. Comments. Commenter 1. Real talk, and you need to say this to your dad. What happens when she claims sexual assault? What happens when she goes into your room at night, when you are sleeping and physically violates you? What happens when she starts hiding and taking compromising pictures of you? What happens when you have no safe place and no privacy from someone who is already unstable? She can destroy your life before it gets to really start, and your dad is okay with that. Reply. My dad thinks therapy fixed her, so those questions are wasted on him. We already fought about that stuff and he's just so convinced she's changed. Commenter 2. NTA, if you two were alone and she tried something else and you said no, she could accuse you of rape. You are better off with your grandparents. They are the bosses for standing up to your dad. I'm glad they're in your corner. Reply. Same. I legit don't know what I would have done if I had nobody to take me and fight for me. Right now I might be in jail or something, knowing how much of a disaster it would be for me and Ruby to live together. Commenter 3. Ruby has already lied about her friend being sexually assaulted. She also tried to assault OP. In what universe is she a safe person to share a house with OP? Reply. My dad said because Jenny got her therapy and because she hasn't acted like that since. But she was still being weird and hostile with me, so how would it be okay for us to live together? I can't understand Dad doing this because I used to think he was a really great dad. Not so much anymore. Commenter 4. TBH, I would use the words you used here. I am not living with someone that assaulted me and accused a friend of SA. Her words could have landed me or my friends in serious legal trouble. She is not well and I refuse to live with someone like that. Good parents don't ask their kids to live with their own stalkers. You chose getting your dick wet over the well-being of your child. I will not be having a relationship with you moving forward. Then mute him. Stories number 17. Aita for getting upset with my husband over hand-me-down clothes for our newborn. Hey yo. So my mom lives a few states away and is not able to help prepare for her first grandchild the way she'd like to, unfortunately. A friend of hers asked her if I'd like some baby clothes, some slightly worn and some never used before. I said of course. And my mom went through all the clothes and washed it and mailed it to me. So when we received the box of clothes I was pretty excited to go through it as we haven't bought anything baby related yet. As I mentioned, this is my husband and my first child. I think I showed him maybe 2 pieces of clothing and I could already tell he was unhappy. He said we just donate all this stuff to Goodwill because he wanted to buy all new clothes for our baby, to which I said OFC, we will still buy new clothes, but it's nice to have a good amount of clothes, especially since they go through clothes like crazy, or so I've heard anyway. He just said no, that his child won't wear hand-me-downs, so I stopped showing him clothes and started packing up the box. So he then asked why I was upset and that he still wanted to see stuff, but I didn't see the point anymore as he'd pretty much ruined the moment and gesture for me at that point. I know it's not new clothes, but my mom was just trying to help and she literally went through the mountain of clothes and washed every single item. The box smelled amazing when I opened it. It hurt my feelings honestly for him to dismiss it like that and just say we donate it all without even taking the time to look through it, and I guess because this is the first time we look at baby stuff together it hurt even more. He got upset then, saying he didn't understand why I was making him the bad guy for saying he wants to buy all new clothes. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. You're doing good for the environment and your wallets. As long as they're clean and not destroyed, it doesn't matter. Commenter 2. I've never once heard a rational person say thank God I got new clothes for my baby that they outgrew in a month, I'm so glad they weren't used. Baby clothes are pretty pointless new if you can get used. It can be nice to get a couple cute photo outfits, but it's not worth spending $100 in something for a month or two. Commenter 3. Yep, the husband doesn't really seem to understand that baby clothes are expensive disposable items. Babies make a mess and grow fast, you might as well go all in on hand-me-downs until at least the toddler years. Commenter 4. Yeah, he probably has the mindset of hand-me-downs being a symbol of poor. But the kid won't know the difference until it gets to be 7 or so. They can worry about the hot new fashions that are really the same thing with different pop stars attached to them. Commenter 5. NTA, it's your baby too and you have a say in what they wear. Babies do go through clothes like crazy and there's no reason to get everything new when you have access to hand-me-downs because so much will have to get thrown out anyways. He got upset then, saying he didn't understand why I was making him the bad guy. This seems like a red flag. It's manipulative and also gaslighting. You weren't upset with him for wanting to buy new clothes, you were upset because he completely shut you down and made it seem like your used clothing was not good enough for his baby. He got caught being a dick about this and decided to turn it on to you and make it about him being upset. Commenter 6. Seconded OP, when your husband reduces your argument like that you need to stand up. You needed to say something like, "Don't twist my words, I am not upset about you wanting to buy new clothes, I even said, of course we will buy new clothes still, so buying clothes isn't the problem. I am upset because I was excited to share our first parental moment together going through these clothes, and immediately telling me that you don't want the clothes and want to throw them out made me feel like you didn't care for my mom's kind gesture in giving us these, and made me feel like you didn't care about going through the clothes with me at all. I mean, why would we go through clothes we have no intention on keeping? If you had only wanted to buy new things for the baby, we should have discussed this earlier. We will have to budget hard in order to make that work, so let's sit down and figure out what clothes will cost us from the baby onesies up to 5T, and what we will need to cut from our costs to make that happen. You need to address why what he said was incorrect. I did not say X, I said Y. Use I feel statements to try and lessen the supposed blame on him and explain what you really meant so you can work together on the issue and address his alleged argument and offer a solution. In this case, address that he isn't the asshole for only wanting new clothes and offer a way to make it happen. The added benefit of that last one is him budgeting with you and realizing that hand-me-downs are the way to go. Update. I kept all the hand-me-downs. I genuinely don't recall as it's been 5 years what led to it no longer being an issue, but I think he understood where I was coming from. We bought a lot of new clothes for our baby together and had fun going to buy baby back when it still existed and seeing all the baby stuff and shopping what we needed. It was a mix of seeing all the other costs monitor, stroller, crib, mattress, etc. pile up, but also understanding my mom's good heart to appreciate all the clothes she sent. Let me tell you, it took a hot minute to put it all away. You know the XL Home Depot moving boxes? She sent one of those stacked all sort of baby clothes. If I remember correctly, shipping alone was $100 as it was going coast to coast. For all those worried he was gaslighting and being manipulative, we are fine, had another baby together 2 years later and still happily married. OFC our second was a girl LOL, so while she did get a lot of hand-me-downs from her brother, she got a lot of cute girly things of her own. For what it's worth, it has all been a huge learning experience for us both, as I'm sure it is for any new parent. He learned to embrace the hand-me-downs, and some of my most sentimental pieces worn by both of our kids were not new when we received them. We learned how quickly kids go through clothes and how, if you really look at it, aside from the blowouts, baby clothes get the least use. They're just drooly potatoes. Toddler clothes is a whole other ball game. The knees on clothes don't stand a chance. All this to say, we learn to communicate about a lot, and while we still disagree about even more, we are always in a position to discuss it and work through it. He is an amazing father, and some of you hit the nail on the head when you said he might be basing his worth on what he can provide for them. Most importantly, what he constantly gives them even on his busiest days, is his time. And all the hand-me-downs. Well, the pile grew with our additions, and we happily gave it to one of his cousins who had their first baby about a year ago, with my holding back my most sentimental pieces for keepsakes. My mom's a seamstress, so I've challenged her to make a teddy bear with them. I just need to ship them to her. She's come out and visited multiple times and vice versa, but that's always forgotten. Comments. Commenter 1. Oh, the delusions of first-time parenthood. All new clothes for a baby LOL. Glad he got off that quickly. Commenter 2. A friend has patchwork quilts made for each child. They're all 15 made of different fabrics from their childhoods. Baby blankets, soccer team or day camp jerseys, Halloween costumes, etc. I want a do-over grandchild to make such a collection. Reply, I love this. Every vacation we've taken I've gotten them t-shirts from the place so I can make them a quilt of them all when they turn 18. May or may not have stolen that from Twilight. Commenter 3. This was such a wholesome update. Honestly, it makes a lot of sense now that you explained it. Becoming new parents comes with so many emotions, expenses, and expectations, so of course the clothes felt like a bigger deal at the time. I love that you both found a balance between enjoying the fun of buying new things together and appreciating the love behind the hand-me-downs. The way you described the drooly potato stage made me laugh because it's so true. Newborn clothes barely see anywhere before the next growth spurt. It's sweet that those little outfits ended up holding sentimental value instead of resentment, and even sweeter that you passed them on to someone else starting their journey. The teddy bear idea from your mom is going to be such a beautiful keepsake. It sounds like you and your husband learned the most important thing: not to avoid disagreements, but to actually work through them. Your kids will carry that lesson just by watching you too. Stories number 18. My parents falsely accused my brother of being a creep and it's really affecting him. My brother is 15, my sister is 17, and I'm 23F. This is really stupid and it shouldn't have happened but it did. Now I just want advice on how to make it better. Also this is the story my brother told me as I wasn't there. He was in his room playing on his phone minding his own business. He got up to take out the trash. He came back to lay down on his bed. As he was laying down he noticed their dog walking out of his room. He ignored it. Later on his sister 17 noticed clothes were missing. She went looking for it and found it in my brother's room. The problem was that his was wet and slimy. She immediately told our parents and they thought the worse. My dad, mom, and brother argued about it. Rude things were said. Apparently mom said I knew you were weird but not this weird. My dad said I raised a predator. In the end my parents asked me to pick him up and let him stay with me for a couple of days. When I picked him up he didn't say anything and just sat in silence. He spent the entire time in the room he was staying in. He only came out for dinner. He skipped breakfast and lunch. His eyes were always red when he came out so I assume he was crying. I've never seen him cry. Most of the time when he's upset he just has a stone face so what they said must have got to him. Finally at the end of the week his parents called me and said they wanted to talk to him so they came over. Before they came over I tried to talk to him but he ignored me. When parents came they apologized to him. Over the week they noticed more of sister clothes in his room until one day my dad caught the dog with my sister clothes. My brother just said okay and went home. I tried to ask my parents if he could stay longer but they said that wouldn't be necessary. Later on I got a call asking me what did he do over my house because he's just been in his room all day at their house. Is there anything I can do to help him feel better? Advice would be greatly unappreciated. Edit little update, good news he can stay with me until Sunday. I had to lie a little to parents to get him to come. I told them he should get out the house because he spends most of his day sitting in one spot with online school. They didn't believe me at first but I said it would be a chance to get him out his room. They finally agreed. He was about to go to sleep so I came just in time. I think the plan right now is to just spend time with him this week. I'm broke so it's gonna be mostly home stuff. I tried to talk to him on the car ride. I asked him if he's okay. He said he's fine and we had a little conversation about his school. So at least he's talking now. He's in the spare room so everything is okay right now. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Poor fellow. Your parents seriously attacked this kid and to think they can just say, I'm sorry, and everything be fine is mind-boggling. They destroyed any trust he had in them and this will not be an easy fix. It appears they had their mind set before even accusing him, thanks to your other sister. Yeah, he probably doesn't have much use for her either right now. Your brother needs space and time to heal. Being at home and being made to interact with this right now is punishment, even though they are his parents and sister. If I were you, I'd tell my parents what they did was inexcusable. I'd talk to him one-on-one and see if he wanted to stay with you for a few weeks. He's 15, being accused of creeping on his sister really put a dent in his self-esteem and self-worth. He needs time to heal. I would also tell him you were there for him no matter what. He will eventually seek affirmation that he's not the weirdo he was labeled. Be there for him. As for your parents, good grief, they need counseling and your sister probably does too. They made their beds by striking him down so harshly, now they'll have to deal with it a while. It's tough being a 15-year-old kid without these accusations, he really got put behind the 8 ball with this situation. I hope the beat for him. Reply, if I were you, I'd tell my parents what they did was inexcusable. I did tell them that was fucked up. They don't see it though. They tried to pass it off as they were just upset in the moment but I wasn't buying it. Talk to him one-on-one and see if he wanted to stay with you for a few weeks. Sadly he's ignoring my calls and texts. I am thinking about just driving to see him though. And if he wants he could stay with me for a while. I'm with him. I don't really know why they went all in on him. There has to be something larger happening if they can say all those things and not care how he feels. But they do need some help too. Commenter 2. Look, I hope I'm wrong but your brother sounds like he needs to be on suicide watch. Reply, sorry for not responding. I had to work. Do you know any sign we should watch out for besides him just sitting in his room because if this is a real possibility I'll drive to their house tomorrow. Commenter 3. Not trying to be a dick but there might not be a tomorrow. You need to get him out of there ASAP. Reply, okay, Emma stop responding for a little bit. I'ma drive over right now and convince them to let him spend the week with me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little scared right now. I will try my best. OP later responded to the same comment, good news. He can stay with me until Sunday. I had to lie a little to parents to get him to come. I told them he should get out the house because he spends most of his day sitting in one spot with online school. They didn't believe me at first, but I said it would be a chance to get him out his room. They finally agreed. He was about to go to sleep, so I came just in time. I think the plan right now is to just spend time with him this week. I'm broke, so it's gonna be mostly home stuff. I tried to talk to him on the car ride. I asked him if he's okay. He said he's fine, and we had a little conversation about his school. So at least he's talking now. He's in the spare room, so everything is okay right now. Commenter 4. Your brother sounds like he's exhibiting behavior indicating he's at risk for suicide. Especially since he probably doesn't feel like he has anyone he can trust anymore. Reply. I'm honestly scared for him. I would have been asleep, but I'm staying up tonight to make sure he's good tonight. Commenter 5. How is your brother doing today? Reply. He's doing better and we're talking more. But he's still pretty quiet and spends time in the room. I'm gonna give a final update at the end of the week. Update. My parents falsely accused my brother of being a creep and it's really affecting him. The last update I gave was when my brother was allowed to spend the week at my house. That was last Sunday. We spent the first day Monday at my house just talking. He spent most of the time in the room. At first he wasn't responding back. It was going nowhere quickly. So I ended the conversation by telling him our parents were wrong and that he is not weird. I didn't say it exactly like this, but I hope you get the point. He just had a stone face and we stopped talking. Tuesday he still didn't really come out of the room. I offered to go to McDonald's and he came out the room to eat at the table. We just talked about random different things. He wasn't really interested in the conversation until we started talking about my Xbox. We eventually started talking about Madden. He started talking about how good he is at the game. We finished eating run, he went back to his room. Wednesdays I bought Madden. I don't play sports game. I play games like Cuphead or cartoon animated games. I asked if he wanted to play and he agreed. I know this is serious, but Madden absolutely sucks. The game started cheating as soon as we started. The first thing my player did was fumble the ball. He was killing me at it. He actually laughed a couple of times, and he seemed to be enjoying himself. We spent a good portion of the day just playing. Thursday was pretty much the same as Wednesdays, but he was talking more. I was gonna go to the movies, but COVID is still a thing. We eventually just settled to watching Netflix. He spent half the day in his room, but he is coming out more. Friday I decided to try to talk to him about the situation again. I pretty much told him I would talk to our parents to get them to understand why he was hurt by it. I also took the advice of seeing if he wanted to talk to a professional. He asked me not to ask them about it. He said it was just better if nobody brought it up again. I was a little shocked, but there's not much I could do. We then decided to go to a walking trail. At first he didn't want to go, but I convinced him to come. We just spent more time talking. This also made me realize that I should talk to my siblings more often. He seemed happier. Saturday or yesterday was pretty much us just talking again. We decided instead of Madden to just play random games I had. I don't have a lot, but I think he had a good time. When it was dinner time he got kinda quiet again. I asked him what was wrong. He said he wasn't ready to go back home yet. I didn't know what to say. I asked him if he wanted me to talk to our parents to see what we could do. He just said no again. I pretty much told him he could come to my house anytime he wanted to. That leads us to today. He is back at his house. I was gonna talk to our parents, but I assumed he has a reason for not wanting me to talk to them. I know you guys said something about getting him a therapist, but he said no to the idea. I did call my sister to see how she's doing. She said she tried to apologize to brother, but he ignored her. I don't know what's happening with that, but one thing at a time. And that's pretty much how the week went. Overall he seemed much happier than he was last week. I texted him and he wants to come back over sometime next week. This part has nothing to do with my brother, but it's about me. You don't have to read it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I'm only 23, still trying to get my life together. I'm a firefighter, so I'm just glad that we get a lot of vacation time, or else I would have had to work. I know people are thinking if you're a firefighter you should know what to do, and why did you ask what the signs of depression are? I was never trainer on how to deal with somebody actively showing signs of depression. I was trained to help somebody who is in the process of trying to commit suicide, and that training wasn't that good. It was basically try to talk them down and do whatever you can to get them to a hospital. I've yet to use this training. This is why I was panicking when everything was happening. People were telling me he could commit suicide. I know I should have kept a cool head, but it just felt different because it was family. They tell you not to panic, but I'm only human. I've been a firefighter for about 2 years now. Anyway, something else I wanted to say. I'm gonna try to be there for both my brother and sister, but I made a mistake too. Somebody brought up the point of when I found out what happened, what was my reaction. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I didn't have one. I thought he was gonna get over it and everything would be alright. I only started caring when I realized that he wasn't acting like his normal self. That when I realized the impact of what they said and how fucked up this all really is. So to the person who brought up this point. Thank you. This showed me that no matter how great my actions are looking in front of random strangers, the truth is that I had a similar mindset as my parents. I don't think he's weird, but I guess my time spent around them made me desensitized to the things they say. I'm gonna work to change that because it's not right. So to everybody, thank you for the advice you've given. I see the mistake I've made and I'm 100% behind changing myself and being behind my brother. Spend time with my brother. He seemed much happier, and he is now back at his house. I also realized I fucked up by not reacting much when I first found out what happened. I'm gonna work on myself while also spending more with my siblings. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're a great sister. I would try to invite him over often, more so than just extending one forever open invitation. It'll make him feel more wanted. Reply. I'll definitely try to keep hanging out with him and invite him over more often. I'm also gonna try to hang out with my sister more. I'm gonna try to have a better relationship with both of them. Commenter 2. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Sounds like you do to me. You care about your bro. That's all that needs to be done. Have you thought about introducing your brother to your pals at the station, maybe give him a tour? Reply. When I graduated fire school we had like a family day. We brought our family to where we did our training for fire school. So they all know my brother, sister, and parents. Commenter 3. Whoa, a firefighter at 23. Isn't it hard to get in? Reply. Not really. I know a 18-year-old in fire school right now. If you apply to the right county almost everybody gets. However, out of a class of 100 you will notice only about 10 to 15 people will pass the entire thing. Stories number 19. Aita for saying to my sister I'm not that bothered by her baby being born. So me 14F and my sister 24F are not that close and we never have been, and when she fell pregnant last year we got along even less. We don't get on mainly for the age difference, but we have very different music taste and style. She's also homophobic and I'm her idea of hell, like she says. May I just add, my sister is lazy and she's selfish, but if I were to tell her we would get in a massive argument and I don't want any more in my family. I've never been that fussed about babies, mainly cause I'm young and haven't really grown up around kids. I also don't like the noise, and for other personal reasons I never want children. A few months ago she had her child, and let me get this straight, I don't have anything against my nephew but the people around him. He seems like a cute baby and everything, but I just don't get the hype around kids, and all of the adults in my family shout at me and say I need to have some love for my sister who's gone through a lot and is a lovely person. She's not, by the way. One day I was at home in my room having some time to myself cause I was overwhelmed, and my sister said that I hate my nephew and that I need to pay more attention to him. I love my nephew and I show my affection to him in a different way. Now she doesn't let me near him cause she thinks I'm just gonna be negative towards him. Aita. Comments. Commenter 1. Some people just aren't kid people. There's nothing wrong with that. Commenter 2. Take the win, you have successfully avoided being guilt into babysitting. Commenter 3. You're 14, it's normal not to be into babies. That doesn't mean you hate your nephew. He's his own person and you might connect later when he's older. Keep it simple, say you're not a baby person but you still care. Little things like a smile or asking how he's doing show you're not negative. Don't fake enthusiasm, just be polite. Boundaries are fine, and your feelings might change with time. Commenter 4. You are NTA. Your sister is probably trying to get you to babysit for free, which means diapers and wipes. Live your life, it doesn't matter what your sister says. Commenter 5. It feels like there is some information missing. How have you acted towards the baby? Indifference is one thing, you're 14, it's not your kid. Absolutely fine to be relatively indifferent, but for your whole family to be screaming at you and for your sister to not let you near the baby makes it seem like you have said something about the baby, or not done something that anyone would do regardless of whose baby it is. For example, if the baby is screaming and you're not sure someone who should be caring for them has heard, have you gone to get them so they can look after the baby? Not that it's your responsibility to look after the baby, but the vast majority of people would get someone to help if they don't think the baby has been heard. Have you pushed back against all the inevitable changes that come when a newborn enters a house? It just seems like there is more to this story. Even if your sister is not a great person and you don't get on, this doesn't make sense. Reply. So whenever my family is round and they are crowding around the baby, I always stay away, and when I say I just want space, my family always say I'm full of bullshit. Also, apparently my mental health and how negative I am makes them not want me to be around him alone, which I think is stupid because I would never hurt him. She also gets me to do stuff with the baby when I'm busy or studying, and if I say that I will in a few minutes, she shouts at me. Stories number 20. Should I 27M get into a relationship with my old high school teacher? 36F. Given our history. Back when I was in high school, I had this teacher who also ran a club I was part of. She was about a decade older than me. When I was around 16 to 17, we got really close. She was super passionate about world history, spoke 5 languages, and I really looked up to her. Looking back, I realize some of it was inappropriate. It never crossed into anything physical, but we would talk for hours, hug, hold hands, and she'd kiss my cheek and neck sometimes. As a teenage boy, I was too dumb to fully grasp what was happening, because she was an attractive woman and I liked getting attention. People eventually started getting suspicious because she kept nominating me for school awards like Best Math Tutor, etc., and I ended up with a bunch of trophies. That's when things sort of stopped. For context, I was also really socially awkward and underconfident in high school. I didn't have much experience with girls and just generally wasn't comfortable in my own skin. In college I grew a lot, focused on my fitness, mental health, built my confidence, and matured into who I am today. After I graduated college, I slowly realized the whole dynamic back then with the teacher was wrong. However, I've dated since then, yet I never felt fully satisfied. I think I was chasing that same high I felt with her. Last month, she reached out to me on Facebook. She apologized a lot for how things were back then, and asked how I was doing. I won't lie, when I saw her message, my heart was racing like crazy and I felt that same high again. We've been talking a lot recently, and she's been dropping a lot of I love yous. We haven't met up yet, but she really wants to. So here's my question, given our history, would it be wrong to start a relationship with her now? Or is it something I should avoid, no matter what my feelings are? Stories number 21. I waived about $10,000 in vehicle fees while working for a major brand. I worked in a call center for a major luxury car brand. I worked overnights and answered roadside assistance calls for the vehicle's built-in support system, basically OnStar, for this car brand. We were permitted to waive up to $75 per customer, but it was heavily implied to never use the waiver. Managers and supervisors, as well as long-lived call center coworkers, all discouraged using the waiver and made passive-aggressive comments about people who used them. The customers were getting fucked over, for sure. So many manufacturer defects and problems with vehicles that were less than 50 miles over their factory warranty but zero coverage. Long story short, I waived a $20 fee for a part order, and was publicly bullied by a supervisor, and then she threatened to fire me in front of 60 coworkers in a Teams call. The problem? I used outdated documents, fault of the company, not me or the call center, with procedures that allowed me to type in an outdated code to waive a fee I wasn't supposed to be able to. I was underpaid, overworked, and monitored 24/7. Fuck the corporations. I waived every fee that I could, and that I deemed deserving after that. Grandma's 2001 died and she needs it towed to the yard. Sure thing. Tow fee is $75 and I'm permitted to take up to, that's right, $75 off. Never even told the customer that it cost $75. I just filled out the form while on the phone with them and never asked for payment. Your warranty ran out yesterday, you only have 20k miles on your brand new sports car and you need to replace your battery. Sure thing, man, I'll make that shit free. Rinse and repeat for several months. I've easily waived over 150 different fees for these vehicle owners. Never got caught. Stories number 22. Can I have your sandwich? So I was sitting outside a fashion store waiting for my boyfriend who was trying on clothes. I had just come from a couple train stops away where I'd bought a pretty nice sandwich. I went out of my way to get one from this particular place because I really like it and I'm not often in the area. So I'm minding my own business eating my sandwich and some random weird-looking guy sits near me. I get the feeling he's watching me eating. He says, "That looks like a tasty sandwich." I replied, "Yeah, it is." He says, "That might be the best-looking sandwich I've ever seen," so I replied by telling him the name of the place I got it from in case he wants to get himself one too, out of politeness. At this point I'm really hoping my boyfriend will be done soon and decide to call him and ask. Weird guy is still watching me eat. I'm waiting for my boyfriend to answer his phone and weird guy says, "That's pretty far from here, can I just have the rest of yours? Germs don't bother me if they're from a pretty lady. Besides, I'm out of cash. I just feel like I really need to have it." I just gave him a shocked look and GTFO of there, ran into the fashion store cause I was so uncomfortable and kind of scared. As I was getting up he said, "Well, can you go and get me a fresh one then and bring it back here, I'll be waiting in this spot." Stories number 23. Just had the worst interview of my life. So today, I had a final interview round with a company. After traveling for 3 hours, I arrived at the company's office. They didn't provide me with the contact person's details, so I had to wait for 30 minutes at the reception. Then my interview started with the CEO and 2 developers. The CEO was using the phone constantly and went out during the interview 2 times. Even when I was looking at him while giving answers he started using his mobile phone. After 10 to 15 minutes the other developer who joined the interview online had to go because he had some other work to do. Then after the interview was over the CEO told me that we have to conduct another interview despite HR telling me that this is the final interview, that the HR who is based in Italy will be here in the office next week. To which I said, will it be conducted online? Or in person? He said in person. I told him that it would be really hectic because trains are not working as expected and I had to travel 3 hours one way to be on site. He said, "I don't know, that's what you have to do when you work for an IT company." Then he told me later on that I like your positive energy and your skill set, but you should learn how to talk to the CEO. To which I asked, when did I disrespect you? Or said negative? He said, "I already told you." I said, "Can you please specify?" He said, "I already told you," and walked out of the room. I have given a lot of interviews and this sort of behavior was unexpected. If you needed HR then you should have gotten her online or on-site in the first place. When leaving I asked the other developer what I said wrong. Or disrespectful. He said, "I don't know. If I say something it will be a conflict." Stories number 24. Our caterer forgot about us. My wedding was this past weekend. I got engaged back in April, and the first thing we did was find a caterer for our small backyard wedding of about 20 people. We picked this well-known and popular in our area caterer because they had specific options we really wanted. We ordered smoked sliced brisket, stuffed flounder, mac and cheese, chicken quesadillas, bacon-wrapped jalapenos, and sweet biscuits, for a total quote of $700 and a $200 deposit. We were originally going to pick up the food, but 2 weeks ago I messaged with the owner and asked if they could deliver, and he agreed. Maybe this is on me for not confirming in a few days before the wedding, but I sent a message trying to confirm at 8 a.m. the day of our wedding for a 3 p.m. catering delivery. After no response all day, I started getting a little worried. 3:15 rolls around and I decide to call the restaurant and see if they have a time estimate. They tell me they will call the owner and call me back. 10 minutes later I find out from the owner that he forgot about us. He was thrown off because his head chef broke his hand the night before, and he can't believe this happened. He feels awful. He's on his way to the restaurant to pick up some trays they are preparing, but they won't be able to accommodate what we originally ordered. 4:30 rolls around, an hour and a half after we planned for dinner, and we get only 2 of the trays we actually ordered and 2 more trays that we didn't. Our main meal of stuffed flounder got swapped to ribs, and he included a tray of beans, which personally I hate beans. Altogether we ended up with brisket, ribs, mac and cheese, and beans. So I ate brisket and mac and cheese, which was kind of cold for dinner at my wedding. Everyone ate and seemed generally happy with the food. I was pretty upset and never talked to the owner when he arrived with the food. He told my parents not to worry about paying anything else, we already paid a $200 deposit. I haven't heard anything else from him, no messages at all. So Reddit, it's a few days later and I need to know if I should be making a bigger stink about this. Some of my family thinks we kind of made out in saving $500. Some think he should have given our deposit back. Some think he should offer us a free dinner so we can actually have the meals we were excited to have and never got to try. I've been going back and forth about writing a scathing review on social media. I work at a restaurant, and I know that shit happens and people make mistakes, but this was my wedding day and I'm pretty upset about how this all happened. I'm just kicking myself for not sending them a message 2 to 3 days before. If you read this all, let me know what you would do. Edit, thank you for all your responses so far. Just wanted to edit with a bit more context and to answer a few questions I've seen. There was no contract. We only ever discussed over Facebook Messenger. He owns a well-established, well-known in my city food truck that has done catering for years and has great reviews. He opened a separate restaurant in the past few months. He posted a brand new from the new restaurant catering menu on Facebook about 2 hours before my wedding from the same account that I messaged earlier that morning. I thought that after putting our order together he decided to update the catering menu, but nope, an unfortunate for me coincidence. Edit 2, lots of differing opinions on how to handle this, but I have to agree with the most common sentiment to just let it go. I don't think I will leave a review, but I at least unfollow their page so I don't get bummed out seeing their posts about food. It stung a bit extra since the food was really the only part of the wedding we were planning to spend a significant amount of money on, and we were really looking forward to it. I spent $25 on my dress, got my decorations all second-hand, played a Spotify playlist, and our rings combined were less expensive than the catering. But money is not the important thing. We had a great day with family, everyone had lots of drinks and spent time in the pool with the best weather we could have asked for. Tonight we will be going for sushi. And have been joking about all the sushi dates we can go on with the $500 we saved lol. Stories number 25. Me, M35, and my wife, F32, dealing with significant personality changes after coming off of birth control. Does anyone else have experience with this? What might we expect moving forward? TLDR. My wife got off hormonal birth control a year ago and her personality underwent significant changes. At first it was awesome and our relationship was better than ever, then things got complicated. She said that she is now unsure of our relationship, that she finds herself attracted to many other men and finds herself annoyed with me. We are both scared about the new uncertain future. I am hoping to see if anyone else here has experienced similar changes in feelings after stopping birth control and what we might expect moving forward. The details. My wife and I are in our mid-30s, we have been together for 8 years and married for 5. A year ago my wife stopped taking her hormonal birth control. She had been on it for 15 years in order to start trying for kids. Almost immediately her personality started changing, she was more vibrant, more excited, and was having more fun. About 9 months later she said she was second-guessing children, and we agreed to take some time to reevaluate that decision. In the last month or so things got worse, she started being annoyed with me more frequently and generally not wanting to spend time with me. We had a big discussion where she told me there is a part of her that wants to end our marriage, that she is inexplicably annoyed with me frequently, is finding herself strongly attracted to other men, and feels like a different person. We are both obviously scared. She has been seeing a therapist and I have signed up to see a therapist ASAP, as well as trying to get on the schedule for couples therapy. She is also trying to figure out what kind of doctor she should speak to about the changes in her brain chemistry and what to expect moving forward. The reason I am posting is to ask if anyone has experienced this similar thing before, and if you have any insight as to what we can expect moving forward. Thank you. Update, my wife had been experiencing psychosis. Me, M35, and my wife, F32, dealing with significant personality changes after coming off of birth control. Does anyone else have experience with this? What might we expect moving forward? My wife got off hormonal birth control a year ago and her personality underwent significant changes. At first it was awesome and our relationship was better than ever, then things got complicated. She said that she was unsure of our relationship, that she found herself attracted to other men and found herself annoyed with me. TLDR of the update. My wife had been experiencing psychosis for several months. This included believing she was receiving and sending romantic messages via social media posts to someone and later believing she was being monitored 24/7 and gang-stalked. She has been seeing a psych for several months now, is on medication, and is recovering very well. The details. The events from my perspective. During the time all this was happening I had noticed my wife being on her phone nearly constantly, like 10 hours a day. I know this is normally a red flag for cheating, but she had had a low level of phone addiction our entire relationship, so it wasn't anything new per se, just a new level. I could almost always see what she was doing and 90% of the time it was watching Instagram reels. She had started neglecting basically everything, her hobbies, her job, cleaning up after herself, etc. Given that it was winter and she has a history of mild seasonal depression, I thought it was just depression kicked up a notch. She started taking Lexapro, which helped for a bit but quickly stopped. Eventually she called me and said that she thought her Google account was hacked and asked me to come home from work and help her change all her account passwords. When I came home, she asked me to not talk in case they had access to her microphone and asked that we write out all communication until we got the passwords changed. I thought this was weird, but I'm a bit paranoid about digital security, so I went along with it, though I did text her sister to let her know what was happening and that it might be a red flag. The events from her perspective. She believed a guy she knew had been sending her subliminal messages via various social media sources for months. As an example, she believed certain Instagram reels that came on her feed were messages from him. When I asked how she thought he was influencing her feed, she said that if he liked something it would be more likely to show up on her feed. There are many other examples like this, some more absurd. Eventually she started to believe that more people were involved, including big meme Instagram accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers. She eventually believed that her phone had been hacked and they were monitoring everything she was doing. Things came to a head when she believed she was being actively threatened and hallucinated a threatening message in her Notes app. When that happened, she came to me and told me everything that she thought was going on. The events that followed. When my wife came to me with what she thought was happening, it was pretty obvious to me that something was off. I called a psychiatrist who confirmed what was happening was pretty textbook psychosis. Fortunately, my wife had kept an extremely detailed journal of all of the events that happened, real or imagined, and asked me to read through the entire thing. The journal made very little sense with almost dreamlike logic in many places. For example, page 32 might end saying, "I wonder if Bob is involved." Then on page 33 it continues as if it's proven that Bob is involved, as if things came true as soon as she thought them. Going through the journal together page by page and untwisting the logic, I was able to get her to see that she was at least in part experiencing psychosis, but she still believed some of the monitoring and gangs talking was real. Just a note, we found out later that this is not a good idea. While it worked in our case, apparently it is just as likely for the person in psychosis to experience more delusions that just accommodate the inconsistencies you point out. We were able to get a psych appointment almost the next day with a friend's help. It took about a month to rule out any physical medical causes of psychosis, get diagnosed with delusional disorder, and start antipsychotic medication. The psych slowly worked her up to a therapeutic dose, and my wife has not experienced any delusional flare-ups for several months now. Where things stand, our relationship has and continues to recover. She is once again excited to be with me, and all of the new annoyances she felt are gone. She still has struggles with her mental health, but obviously that is to be expected as she recovers. She mainly seems to be shaken by the fact that all of that stuff that seemed so real was fake and that she lost so much time to it. She also struggles with feeling isolated due to people not understanding what it was like to go through psychosis and recovery. In terms of one of the main problems of the original post where she said she didn't think she wants kids anymore, after a few months she came to me and said that she does want to try for kids again. Additional details. My wife tried to confront the other person several times. He obviously had no idea what she was talking about, told her such, and asked her to leave him alone. If you're familiar with psychotic disorders, though, this had no effect on her. He would tell her to leave him alone, then she would see an Instagram reel she thought was a message from him and think, why is he sending me messages after telling me to leave him alone? My wife had actually been in therapy the entire time and had told her therapist most of what she thought was going on. She was incredibly frustrated that the therapist didn't pick up on the psychosis symptoms. She has switched therapists. Things were extremely rough the first month or so after everything came to light. Neither of us slept well and she needed 24-hour monitoring as she had a passive death wish. I used most of my PTO and she went on FMLA for a few months. Having now looked into these conditions, it is eerie seeing how similar other people's stories are, including the means of communication and the progression from erotomania to persecutory delusion. Stories number 26. If I expose my mom's money problems to my dad after she spent my tuition. I 20F have always supported my mom 43F, even financially, and I usually try to understand her side. My dad 44M works overseas and sends money twice a month for groceries, bills, and school. He usually sends it to my mom, who then distributes it. Earlier this month, my dad came home after working abroad for 6 months. He had all our expenses mapped out, including my tuition since I'm an incoming second-year aeronautical engineering student, which is really expensive where I live. He gave my mom around $1,000 for my enrollment fee, and that is like 60% of the whole tuition fee. What my dad didn't know was that I still had a $350 balance from my previous semester. My mom used part of the $1,000 for that balance, and I agreed not to tell my dad because I trusted she'd figure out a way to cover the rest. Fast forward to last week, I finished my documents, reserved my enrollment, and was waiting for the tuition payment. That's when I found out my mom had already used the remaining money for reasons she won't explain. She's been trying to recoup it, but nothing has come through. Prior to that, she told me she'll never touch my enrollment money since it'll be hard to recover. Today is the last day of late enrollment. If my tuition isn't paid by 6 p.m., I lose my slot. I've already missed 2 weeks of classes including major and lab subjects and I completely broke down. I told my mom I'm tired of always having to compromise because she borrows or misuses money. I told her if this continues, I'll have no choice but to tell my dad everything, not just about my tuition, but also about her gambling and borrowing habits I've helped cover up for years. The problem is, if I tell him, my parents will have a huge fight and he'll never trust her with money again. But I'm exhausted, and now my education is on the line. Aita if I finally tell my dad the truth. TLDR, Dad gave my mom $1,000 for my college enrollment. She used part of it to pay my previous semester's balance and spent the rest for unknown reasons. Now I'm about to lose my slot because tuition isn't paid, and I'm considering telling my dad the truth about her money mismanagement and gambling, even though it'll cause a huge fight. Aita. Update, Aita if I expose my mom's money problems to my dad after she spent my tuition. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for their responses as it helped me see that my mom's behavior should have never been allowed to continue. I fully accept the criticisms about me and I know my wrongdoings. Second, I told my dad about the situation, and while he was mad at first for me not telling him earlier, well, not the angry type but disappointed type, he managed to find a way to secure the funds for my tuition fee. I also managed to get enrolled just this Saturday though I missed 2 weeks worth of lessons as well as an assessment. I spent the following days sending emails to my professors so I could catch up. Dad had a bit of talk with Mom through a video call since Mom is currently in our hometown while my dad and I are in the city. I study in the city while my dad was here for his documents and medical. He pressed on questioning her until it was revealed that she gambled the money in hopes of getting a high return to pay the money she owes to various people, as well as return the money that was supposed for my education. Now, some of you might be wondering why my dad would finance my college. I am actually from the Philippines, so culture here is a bit different as there would be parents who would work so they can send their kids to college and my dad happens to be one of those. Anyway, I also told Dad about the money she owed to my friends as well and he found himself questioning why Mom would borrow money when he would send most of his salary to us, which is admittedly more than enough if there had been no loans to pay. Since then, however, my younger sister told me that Mom seemed down. Like she has no fight left in her and gave up completely. She was unusually quiet too. I have no idea what else is happening since she hasn't talked to me or Dad ever since. I did send a message to my mom explaining why I did what I did and I do ask about her to my siblings since she had deactivated her account. Hopefully, when she comes here to the city to switch with my dad who will then look after my siblings before he has to work again, we can at least bring back some of that bond we had before the entire fiasco happened. Once again, thank you all so much for the kind and warm reception toward my dilemma and I hope that none of you will go through what I experienced. Stories number 27. Lady thought my basket meant I worked there, so this happened yesterday. I'm at Target just minding my own business with one of those little red shopping baskets. Out of nowhere this lady storms up and starts demanding I show her where the curtain rods are. I'm like, sorry I don't work here. She immediately gets annoyed and goes, then why are you carrying that basket? I try to explain it's literally my basket with my stuff in it but she's not having it. She legit snatched it from me, looked inside, and then says, that's just store merchandise. Employees carry baskets around all the time. At this point I'm kinda laughing but also annoyed. I tell her again I don't work here, even pointed at my hoodie and jeans not even close to their uniform lol but she doubled down like, if you don't want to help customers maybe you shouldn't be working here at all. Finally an actual employee walks over and she yells at him that I'm being lazy and refusing to help. The dude just looks at me, looks at her, and deadpan says, ma'am, he doesn't even work here. The look on her face was priceless. She shoved the basket back into my hands like I'd ruined her whole day and stormed off. Honestly, funniest thing that's happened to me in a while. Stories number 28. It was revealed that my dad has a secret other family and now there is drama. The story is that my dad had a child with another woman shortly after he married my mom but before I was born. My brother that I didn't know about is 32. I'm 28F and my younger brothers are 26 and 24. My dad gave the other woman money over the years and her and my brother knew my dad was married and had a family but none of us knew about them. The only reason my brother 32M revealed the secret is because his son needs a bone marrow transplant and they are looking for a match and anyone with a blood relation is the best chance for one. My mom feels betrayed obviously and I doubt their marriage will survive. But I hate all the drama and gossiping that is happening in my family. I hate drama in general and this is like my worst nightmare. Update, it was revealed that my dad has a secret other family and now there is drama. I forgot about this post for a while because of everything that was going on. I want to thank the people who posted supportive comments towards me and my family and weren't negative about it. My mom divorced my dad. She could not get past the infidelity and didn't believe my dad that it was only a one-time indiscretion. She was devastated when she found out. She's doing better now but it still hurts sometimes. They were married for 34 years so it's been a big adjustment for her. She moved into a new flat and is trying to move on. My relationship with my dad has been destroyed over this and how he acted. Same for the rest of my family. Regarding my nephew, it turned out that while no one in my family is a match, my brothers, my uncle and my cousins all got tested. The then girlfriend now fiancé of my cousin was a match. She agreed to the transplant. It was complete fluke because she isn't genetically related to my nephew. But she has given him a second chance and had no hesitation about agreeing to give. Everything went as well as it could have and my nephew is doing great. I was ineligible to give my bone marrow because I've had cancer in the past, or I would have been tested too. My nephew is doing great and that's all we can really ask for. We have gotten to know my brother, his wife and my nephew. My brother has only met or talked to my dad twice in his life, once when he was in university and once to tell my dad that my nephew needed a bone marrow transplant. Total time for both meetings put together was less than 30 minutes. My dad was never involved in his life and was against my brother contacting us. My dad tried to intimidate him into staying away even knowing my nephew was sick. We don't care what my dad says though. My brother wasn't trying to get money or anything from us. It was just about trying to save my nephew. I've never met my brother's mother but apparently she's doing well and is in a committed relationship and my brother gets along with her boyfriend. But me and my family are focusing on getting to know my brother and his wife and son.